Chapter 299. Feng Wu, you really are. Chapter 299. Feng Wu, you really are. Lady Wang thought that Feng Wu had finished tidying up the whole place, but as it turned out, the rooms had remained untouched. A faint smile emerged on Feng Wu's face. Aunt, you look surprised. Are you trying to figure out if there's another empty courtyard that we can move into? Lady Wang was rendered speechless. She then gave Feng Wu a wry smile. You're making fun of your aunt here. We would never have let you settle down here if there was another empty courtyard. So, Feng Wu asked casually. Well, I was just thinking about how many people I should send over to clean the place for you, since it's so dirty here. Feng Wu smiled. What's there to think about? You've brought over a dozen servants with you, haven't you? They'll suffice. It wasn't that Lady Wang couldn't bear to see her servants get their hands dirty. It was just that she felt so defeated. She thought she would be a gloating onlooker, but as it turned out, it was Feng Wu who was having all the fun. Despite her unwillingness, Lady Wang had to admit her defeat in this first round. Furthermore, she had made all these grand promises, and she would only humiliate herself further by going back on her word. Lady Wang had no choice but to instruct her servants to start cleaning. As for herself, she made up some random excuse and left with Feng Wu shortly afterward. Before she left, she winked at Granny Gouet. As Lady Wang's head chambermaid, Granny Gouet took the hint right away and smiled knowingly. Miss Wu had forced them to do hard labor for her. The young lady was biting off more than she could chew. Granny Gouet and the others spared no effort in tidying up the place, for they had to keep up their superficial charm. As for what they did when no one was looking, that was a completely different story. Fallen Star Yard was cleaned up in no time, and all the daily necessities were sent over. Lady Wang even ordered the broken plank in the door to be replaced. After all, it was a great concern for her. She worried that other people might ask about Fallen Star Yard's missing door, and when that happened, Feng Wu might take the opportunity to vividly describe what had happened today, which would turn Feng Wu into a laughingstock. Flying Snow Building. Feng Wu sat angrily on a chaise longue and glared at Lady Wang. Didn't we say that we were going to make them suffer? Why did you send all those things to them? And why did you let Granny Gouet and the others help her? Feng Wu isn't worth it. Lady Wang looked at Feng Wu in resignation. After 5 years, Feng Wu is still useless cultivation-wise, but she's still the same genius in all other aspects. Xiao Lu, you can't beat her. What? Feng Wu bolted up and glowered at her mother. Mom, how can you say such things about your daughter? Are you comparing me with that useless girl? You're humiliating me. Why can't I beat her? Feng Wu was so angry. Her own mother was looking down on her. Lady Wang rubbed her forehead and felt that she was getting a headache. Just then, Granny Gouet came back with the other servants, their clothes all smeared with dirt. Lady Wang sent them away to clean up. After briefly cleaning herself up, Granny Gouet came back in. All done. Lady Wang held a white porcelain cup in her hands, verdant green tea leaves floating in the water. A ruby ring twinkled on her little finger. Yes, Granny Gouet gloated. I buried it in a corner when they weren't looking. That family won't see it coming. Lady Wang smiled in satisfaction. Feng Wu, you really... Chapter 300. Restrain yourself. Keep a low profile and maintain your composure. Chapter 300. Restrain yourself. Keep a low profile and maintain your composure. She brought it on herself. That's so true. Granny Gouet beamed at her mistress. Miss Wu made us stay behind to work for her, but she's forgotten that there's no such thing as a free lunch. What are you talking about? Feng Wu was at a loss. I don't understand. It's fine. Xiao Lu, didn't you want to see that branch of the family make a fool of themselves? Lady Wang smiled in a careless way. But Mum, didn't your scheme turn into a fiasco and Feng Wu forced you to do her bidding? Feng Wu blurted out the truth, which gave her mother a phantom headache. While Lady Wang rubbed her forehead in resignation, Granny Gouet smiled at Feng Wu. Miss Lu, you'll see what this is about tomorrow morning. It'll be a great show over there in that branch, so make sure you get up early to watch it. Feng Lu's eyes lit up as bright as stars. Are you sure? You can take my word for it. Granny Gue gloated. She had buried that thing herself, while putting some others in various spots. There was no escape for Feng Wu. Lady Wong looked out the window at the clear blue sky, her eyes glinting like sharp blades. That family should have stayed in the border city and lived out the rest of their days as good-for-nothings, but they just had to come back to the Imperial capital to be humiliated. Everyone would admit that they had it coming. Fallen Star Yard. Chilling couldn't stop smiling after Granny Gue and the other servants left. I thought that we would never be able to make this Fallen Star Yard habitable. Thanks to Lady Wong, we have everything we need now. Chilling smiled into her palm. She was here to have a good laugh at us, wasn't she? I bet she's so pissed right now. Granny Zhao cast a stern look at Chilling. Have you forgotten everything I taught you? Restrain yourself, keep a low profile, and maintain your composure. All right. Chilling massaged her cheeks, which were sore from all the grinning. I'm just too happy to see Lady Wong reap what she sowed. It's still too early to say that. Granny Zhao gave Chilling a meaningful look, then turned to Feng Wu. Miss Wu, when Shilon, Lady Wong's chambermaid, struck up a conversation with me as a distraction, I saw Granny bury something herself. Chilling was surprised. What did she bury? How come she had no idea? Granny Zhao glared at Chilling. You were too absorbed in taking pleasure in their little misfortune to notice anything else. Do you have any idea how many people are plotting against Miss Wu and using the most covert schemes? You're so careless. How can I leave Miss Wu in your care? Feng Wu only watched as Granny Zhao excoriated Chilling and didn't intervene. Veterans were always more capable than recruits. Granny Zhao had noticed a small detail like this when Chilling had missed it, which said a lot. Chilling was warm-hearted and meticulous in taking care of Feng Wu's daily needs, but she was nothing like Granny Zhao when it came to guarding against the harm others might do them. And this was just the beginning. The Imperial capital was an ever-changing city, and schemes and plots were bound to come at them nonstop. Feng Wu would rather that Chilling was scolded, and she learned to be cautious now than have her come to grief in the future. Hence, Feng Wu said nothing. She only went to the yard and dug out what Granny Gue had buried. Seeing that Granny Zhao was telling the truth, Chilling blanched. She hadn't noticed anything. If her mistress had really fallen victim to this. Chilling burst into tears. Feng Wu was amused. Don't cry, you poor girl. Just be more careful in the future. Everyone has to learn along the way. Use your brain, that's all. Chapter 301. She'll be busy soon. Chapter 301. She'll be busy soon. What is it? Chilling asked as she wiped away her tears, her eyes still red from crying. What were they going to do to Miss Wu? Feng Wu unwrapped a palm-sized bundle, revealing an object that resembled a bar of soap. She gave it a sniff and snorted. It's spring breeze powder. What's that? Chilling asked curiously. Granny Zhao's and Uncle Chio's faces turned livid at that name. Feng Wu said, it's something that'll cause a man and a woman to be consumed by lust. Gosh! Chilling covered her mouth in astonishment. Oh God, Lady Wong wanted them dead. Feng Wu smiled. When that lady tries something, it's always in 2s or 3s. This can't be the only thing. What do we do now? Feng Wu said nothing. Instead, she took the cub out of her chest pocket. The little thing was eager to try itself. Feng Tutu had slept on the entire journey and was now ready for some action. After jumping out of Feng Wu's arms, it headed right for the kitchen. Everyone followed it curiously. Feng Tutu hopped onto the stove and began to dig diligently, puffing at the effort. Before long, a dark green pellet the size of a pigeon egg emerged. What's this? Everyone turned to Feng Wu for an answer. Picking up the pellet, Feng Wu smirked after taking just one look. It's black Qilin 1 venom. Chilling asked, what's black Qilin venom? Feng Wu smiled a little, but her eyes were cold. As the name suggests, it comes from the venom of the black Qilin and creates a colorless and odorless toxic gas when heated. The woman really planned it well. By burying it in the stove, the toxin will get into the food and gradually poison us. Once it accumulates, Chiuling and the others blanched. What an insidious scheme. As if that spring breeze powder wasn't abhorrent enough, she had to top it off with black Chilean venom. The woman wanted to make sure that Feng Wu and her family were ruined. This is pure evil. Lady Wang is so. Chiuling clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. She sounds so nice and caring in front of other people, as if she cares about us so much. Who would have thought that she could be this malicious? A honey tongue and a heart of gall. That woman is so dreadful. Feng Wu nodded. She had revealed this to everyone not to scare them, but to remind them that they should be aware at all times and remain vigilant. Looking around, Feng Wu said calmly, "People like Feng Lu with her empty arrogance aren't our most formidable enemies. However, we have to be cautious around someone like Lady Wang, who hides a dagger in her smile. From now on, if Lady Wang summons you or invites my mother over, you know what to do. We won't go. Not for all the orders in the world. We'll stall until Miss Wu gets back," Chiuling said earnestly. Feng Wu chuckled when she saw how alert Chiuling was. "You don't have to be on edge. As long as that lady is busy, she won't have time to bother us." "But she's not busy," Chiuling said. "She has servants to run errands for her. All she needs to do is give orders. No, she'll be very busy very soon." That night, a figure leapt out of Fallen Star Yard, nimble as a cat. She jumped around in the dark and quickly made her way into Flower Butterfly Yard. Having grown up in Flower Butterfly Yard, Feng Wu knew the place like the back of her hand. Footnotes. Chapter 302. How dare she humiliate me like this? Chapter 302. How dare she humiliate me like this? Flower Butterfly Yard consisted of 3 courtyards and a lot of rooms. At this time of the year, the garden was filled with blossoming flowers, and the view was spectacular. Feng Wu knew exactly which room Feng Lu was in without having to ask around. Who was the person Feng Lu hated most? Feng Wu, obviously. She had taken Flower Butterfly Yard away for no reason other than it used to be Feng Wu's home. Hence, her room would be none other than Feng Wu's old bedchamber. Feng Wu followed the familiar path that led to her perching phoenix pavilion. As the name suggested, it was where a phoenix was supposed to perch. Because Feng Wu had been born with a mysterious, powerful, true phoenix blood, which hadn't appeared in the Feng clan for 1,000 years. Everyone in the clan had been thrilled, and her living quarters had hence been named Perching Phoenix Pavilion. Outside the building, a tall Chinese parasol tree stood upright in the yard. With the help of the tree trunk, Feng Wu jumped onto the roof of Perching Phoenix Pavilion, as swift as a swallow. The inside of Perching Phoenix Pavilion was brightly lit, and Feng Wu could hear people talking. "Kaiwa, remember to wake me up early tomorrow." "Miss, you've always stayed in bed in the morning." "Are you sure? Why do you even ask?" "Of course I'm sure. You have no idea what fun we'll have tomorrow." "Ha ha." Feng Lu was so thrilled that she rolled around in bed. "Miss, what kind of fun will there be? Do you mind giving me a hint?" Feng Lu was so eager to tell someone, and had only paused for effect, so that Kaiwa would ask. She answered the question promptly. "Ha ha. Feng Wu's reputation will be ruined for good tomorrow." "Ha ha ha. But how is that possible? In this manner?" Feng Lu snorted. "Too bad that Feng Xiaoqi isn't here. I would have made him part of the farce if he were around. Imagine how much fun that would be. Well, no worries. After Feng Wu is dead, I can easily take care of Feng Xiaoqi on my own." Outside, Feng Wu heard every word. She couldn't for the life of her figure out what she had ever done to Feng Lu to make the girl hold such a grudge against her. Why did Feng Lu hate her so much? "Miss, why do you want Miss Wu dead?" Kaiwa asked the question Feng Wu wanted to ask. "She wanted me dead first." Feng Lu flared up as she walked down memory lane. "Do you know how she used to treat me? Before, she was this genius that was so superior. She was the future of the Feng clan, and she had first claim on all the resources in the family. The other kids like us had a monthly allowance of a measly 3 spirit stones. Do you know what she did? She acted all sincere and handed me 3 spirit stones, saying that they were a gift for my cultivation." "Ha ha ha. A gift? For me? My father is the eldest son of my grandfather, and all the resources of the clan belong to us, the first branch of the clan. How dare she bestow a gift on me? She was using my resources, and she was making a gift out of it? Who does she think she is? I told her that I would pay her back after I grew up, and do you know what she said? She told me no need to bother, for they were just some little spirit stones. Ha ha, little spirit stones. She knew perfectly well that those spirit stones were vital for my cultivation, and I couldn't get my hands on them no matter what. She humiliated me like that. How dare she show off in front of me? Who the hell does she think she is? At that moment, I felt like tearing her throat open with my teeth. Outside, Feng Wu recalled this incident. She had only been 5 and Feng Lu was even younger. She had no idea that Feng Lu would still be bothered by this, and that she had been so narrow-minded at that young age. Ha ha, karma really is a bitch, Feng Lu said. Chapter 303. You try to harm my family first. Chapter 303. You try to harm my family first. We've come full circle, and my family is finally on top. Feng Wu is a good-for-nothing now. Ha ha, she's useless. When that happened, everyone in the clan was devastated, but I laughed for 3 days. Feng Lu's eyes glinted coldly. The others have no idea who did it to Feng Wu, but I do. I saw it, and I didn't come back to get help. I wanted her dead. She survived, but her cultivation was ruined, which pleased me more than seeing her dead. That way, I could humiliate her, laugh at her, and taunt her as much as I want. She's just a piece of garbage now. She got lucky. They banished her to northern border city, where she got to live in peace for 5 years, but I was never going to let her have peace. Hence, we went to northern border city just to bring her back. Only that way can I go on abusing her, bullying her, and humiliating her. Trying to take His Royal Highness from me was her worst decision ever. His Royal Highness is mine, and everyone that competes with me must die. Even Zhuo Qingwan. Feng Lu's face twisted. Although, I'll deal with Zhuo Qingwan later. Feng Wu is my top priority now. I'll show His Royal Highness what a slut Feng Wu is. Miss you. Haha. Kaiwa. Remember to go to the clan stable before dawn and unleash the spiritual beasts we keep there. They'll know where to go. Miss, did you hear me? Yes. Kaiwa was shaken. She had no idea that Miss Lu could be this malicious. But if this gets out, your reputation will be affected as well. Kaiwa tried to talk her out of it. Mother won't let it get out, neither will grandmother. So, the only solution is... Ho-ho. The more she thought about it, the more conceited Feng Lu became. Feng Wu stood right outside the window, and she heard every word of their conversation. She knew that Feng Lu wanted her dead, but she had no idea that her hatred stemmed from such petty things. Feng Lu had been quite adorable when she was little. She used to follow Feng Wu around and call her Sister Wu. Feng Wu had pitied her, which was why she had given her those spirit stones. Little did she know that Feng Lu was such an ungrateful and vicious girl. Feng Wu's eyes darkened. Night had fallen. Feng Wu smiled a little. The shut window opened quietly. Instead of going in directly, Feng Wu blew some soporific incense into the room first. Feng Wu had made the incense herself. It was colorless and odorless, but very potent. In less than a minute, the person inside was breathing slowly and steadily. Feng Lu had fallen asleep. Feng Wu jumped into the room, as nimble as a cat. She then threw Feng Lu over her shoulder before heading to where the spiritual beasts were kept. She didn't want her old room ruined by the spiritual beasts. The spiritual beast farm. When the spiritual beasts were mature enough, they would usually be used as personal mounts by members of the clan. There were wolves, bears, cheetahs, and tigers. Which one should she pick? In the end, Feng Wu chose a fire wolf. Looking at Feng Lu, who was fast asleep, Feng Wu took a deep breath. Feng Lu, you wanted to harm my family first. I'm only doing to you what you were trying to do to me. Even that spring breeze powder was from your mother. If you can pray that your mother's spring breeze powder isn't too potent. Otherwise, I'm not sure that you will survive this. Walking into the stable where the fire wolf was kept, Feng Wu buried the spring breeze powder there, then looked back at Feng Lu. Chapter 304. Pay them back in their own coin. Chapter 304. Pay them back in their own coin. Once the spring breeze powder was in place, Feng Wu tossed Feng Lu on the ground. Raising her head, she looked right into the fire wolf's scarlet eyes. Fire wolves were big, strong beasts that were twice the size of a grown man. Their long, flowing fur gave them a majestic look. Feng Wu patted the fire wolf's head. "Sorry about this, buddy." She left after that. Once outside, she carefully closed the door behind her and locked it. The night wind was chilly on her skin as Feng Wu darted one last grim look at Feng Lu. "Your mother was the one who came up with this plan, and that spring breeze powder was put in place by her people. So, I feel no qualms about doing this to you." Feng Wu still had another object in her hand, the black Qilin venom the size of a pigeon egg. Since she was going to pay them back in their own coin, it went without saying that she would use it on Lady Wang. Something cold glinted in Feng Wu's bright eyes. Soon, her nimble figure disappeared into the darkness. Shortly afterward, she appeared inside Flying Snow Building, where Lady Wang lived. Feng Wu jumped around swiftly in the building and was soon outside Lady Wang's bedchamber. As cautious as ever, Feng Wu didn't use the soporific incense right away, but had to listen first. Someone was snoring loudly inside. She realized that Lady Wang wasn't the only one inside. Feng Yanfeng, her eldest uncle, was also there. About this uncle of hers, well, Feng Wu couldn't be bothered to comment. Suffice to say, if he had been as kind as he ought to be, Feng Wu's family would never have been driven off into exile. Feng Wu hadn't come back to the Imperial capital for revenge. She wouldn't stir things up herself, but she wouldn't hesitate to fight back either if she became a target. This soporific incense, which Feng Wu had made herself, wasn't available anywhere on the market, no matter how much a buyer was willing to pay. Using a thin straw, Feng Wu blew the incense smoke into the room. She waited 5 minutes for the knockout effect to work, then pushed the door open and marched in. Her uncle and aunt were fast asleep. In a censer a few steps away, some incense was burning. Feng Wu thought about burying the poison in Lady Wang's kitchen, but then decided otherwise, fearing that she might harm innocent people. Now, under the dim moonlight coming in through the window, Feng Wu fixed her eyes on that censer. The censer was quite sizable and was only cleaned out every once in a while. Feng Wu's mouth curled into a smile. Lady Wang had a habit of burning incense at night, without which she couldn't sleep. Hence, Feng Wu figured out the perfect way to put this black Qilin venom to use, grind it into a powder, and sprinkle it into the censer. Once that was completed, Feng Wu took a look at her aunt, who was still sound asleep, and smiled. After that, Feng Wu disappeared into the dark again. She was back in Fallen Star Yard in no time. The lights were still on. Xiaoling heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Feng Wu. "Miss Wu, how did it go?" The beautiful lady had gone to bed on time like clockwork, and by now, she was already fast asleep. However, Xiaoling and Granny Zhao had been worried about Feng Wu and waited up for her. Feng Wu grinned. "Of course, everything went as planned. I wouldn't have it any other way." Xiaoling and Granny Zhao let out breaths of relief. Feng Wu urged, "Go to bed. We're going to face a tough battle tomorrow." However, after Feng Wu went to bed, little did she know that something very unexpected was about to happen. Yu Minji, that teenager whom Feng Wu had met in Frozen Forest a while ago. Chapter 305. A Naked Girl. Chapter 305. A Naked Girl. He had finally reached an agreement with his 3 elders and was given permission to stay in the Imperial capital for a while. The first person Yu Minji thought of when he arrived at the Imperial capital wasn't Junlin Yuan, his lifelong rival, but Feng Wu. Hence, he began to ask around about the girl. Since her return from the border city, Feng Wu had become the topic of conversation in the city once more. She used to be this genius with the most promising future. However, when she came back this time, her name was connected to slander, rumors, and libel. It was only unfavorable news. Good for nothing, useless, losing her head over love. The people of the city crown her with all the unpleasant labels they could think of. Needless to say, the Zwift family and the younger generation of the Feng family had a lot to do with the spread of the rumors. Yu Minji found everything so frustrating. He wouldn't have felt this way if he didn't know Feng Wu, but he did. To him, the girl was smart, wickedly funny, pretty, sharp-tongued, and a free spirit. He simply couldn't bring himself to dislike her. To Yu Minji, Feng Wu was a brilliant girl, second only to the ugly girl. How can these people say such things about little Feng Wu? Do they even know her? I bet Xiao Wu is so upset right now. Yu Minji's heart went out to Feng Wu. He couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. A slim figure wearing a white robe hid herself in a dark corner with her arms around her knees. Her eyes were teary as she wept into her lap. Such was the picture Yu Minji drew in his head. He clenched his fists in vexation. No, he had to go to Feng Wu. Hence, Yu Minji climbed over the wall of the Feng Manor the first night after Feng Wu came back. The manor was adequately guarded, but Yu Minji had 3 very capable elders. With their help, Yu Minji entered the manor without breaking sweat. At this hour, almost everyone was in bed. Yu Minji couldn't find a person to ask for directions, even if he wanted to. However, when he focused his attention, he noticed strange noises in the eastern part of the place. Yu Minji, the professional pleasure seeker, couldn't resist his curiosity. He headed in that direction right away. And what he saw turned out to be an eyesore. In the centermost part of the spiritual beast farm, an animal was snarling, accompanied by the sound of tearing cloth. Tearing cloth. Yu Minji blushed profusely. It was shameless. Fornication with a beast in the middle of the night. How thirsty did that person have to be? However, he didn't want to ruin the person's night. Covering his ears with both hands, Yu Minji decided to take flight. The torn clothes then flew over the fence, and Yu Minji saw it under the bright moonlight. What? That dress looked so familiar. He thought he had seen it somewhere before. But where? He had only met 2 girls after leaving his court. One was the ugly girl, and the other one was little Feng Wu. Shit! Yu Minji suddenly remembered all the stories he had heard earlier today. Those people called little Feng Wu a good-for-nothing and said that she was crazy in love. They also said that she wouldn't survive much longer in the Imperial capital. Yu Minji had a sharp nose, and he soon recognized the smell of spring breeze powder in the air. Gosh, was that little Feng Wu in there? Had someone set her up? Yu Minji was exasperated. He rushed in right away, knocking down an entire wall. As soon as he set foot inside, he saw a fair, naked girl under a giant fire wolf. Her face was out of sight, but she had a very slim body. Little Feng Wu. Yu Minji's eyes widened in astonishment. He charged at the wolf. Chapter 306, Oh God. Chapter 306, Oh God. Yu Minji charged out and swung his fist at the fire wolf, sending the animal flying backward. It hit a wall and blood gushed out of its mouth. Once the wolf was taken care of, Yu Minji took the girl's hand. Little Feng Wu, don't be afraid. I'm here for you. After that, he took off his robe and wrapped it around the girl. Outside, the bright moon was hidden behind thick clouds. Yu Minji had taken the girl for Feng Wu without giving it another thought. Throwing her on his back, he dashed off and disappeared from the spiritual beast farm in the blink of an eye. Right now, all Feng Wu wore was the robe that Yu Minji had wrapped around her. Resting on Yu Minji's back, her firm breasts pressed against the teenager's back. Yu Minji stiffened right away, and his mind went blank. Shit! Yu Minji's legs almost gave out, and his mouth felt dry. Little Feng Wu was really seductive tonight. Did she like him? Yu Minji had butterflies in his stomach as that thought popped into his head. He smiled like a little kid. Yu Minji had no idea that he was carrying Feng Lu on his back. Feng Lu, on the other hand, had no idea where she was either. Under the effect of the spring breeze powder, Feng Lu's body felt boneless and extremely aroused. Leaning on Yu Minji's back, she rested her head on his nape, and Yu Minji could feel her hot breath on his ears. It felt so sensual, especially with all the moaning she was doing. Yu Minji thought his head was going to explode. This woman was incredible. Yu Minji's muscles stiffened. He looked straight ahead and had to use all his strength to keep his breathing steady. Little Feng Wu, I'm warning you. Stop doing this. I have someone I like already. As soon as Yu Minji began to speak, Feng Lu sensed his virility, which excited her greatly. The delirious girl trembled all over. She forgot about everything else. Wrapping her fair, slim arms around Yu Minji's neck, she began to kiss and lick him. As a red-blooded virgin, Yu Minji could never resist such temptation, not to mention that he had taken the girl for Feng Wu, the person that he had been thinking about. Hey, little Feng Wu, I'm warning you. Stop it. Yu Minji went completely stiff. Despite his harsh tone, he did nothing to stop her. Feng Lu had surrendered to this male body already. Her bloodshot eyes glistened and her vision had gone blurry. Staying on his back could no longer satisfy her. Hence, she began to struggle, trying to climb over his shoulder. You're impossible. Yu Minji cursed, but he was rejoicing inside. He had never thought that the haughty little Feng Wu could be this passionate. He knew it. He knew that the girl was secretly in love with him. It was just that when he had brought it up earlier, all his elders had shaken their heads in unison. He was telling the truth. Yu Minji let the girl climb over his shoulder. Just then, the thick clouds scattered and the moon shone brightly again. Yu Minji could now see her face clearly, and he felt like he had been struck by a thunderbolt. Oh God! Yu Minji thought he was going to lose his mind. The half-naked girl, wrapped in his robe, wasn't little Feng Wu at all. Chapter 307, Claim the Credit. Chapter 307, Claim the Credit. This wasn't little Feng Wu at all. Moreover, Yu Minji realized that he had met this girl before. Yu Minji let go, and Feng Lu dropped to the ground with a loud thump. But that spring breeze powder was so potent. It was an aphrodisiac as well as a hallucinogenic drug, so powerful that it could make a person lose their head completely. As a result, Feng Lu's first reaction was to wrap herself around Yu Minji's thigh and try to crawl up, regardless of the painful fall. Yu Minji was almost driven mad. This woman, what was he supposed to do with this woman? So, the woman that had kissed him and seduced him wasn't little Feng Wu. Yu Minji was disgusted by the thought of this woman's hands on him. He picked up Feng Lu and wrapped his fingers around her neck. Yu Minji might look like a goofball around Feng Wu and Junlin Yuan, but he was first and foremost the sacred son of the Dark Court. He was born with violence running through his veins. A cruel and fierce look filled his eyes, which had been bright and mild a moment ago. Feng Lu couldn't breathe. In Yu Minji's hand, her neck felt as brittle as a toy. Yu Minji felt like killing her right there and then. Just then, footsteps came from outside. Yu Minji had his own agenda for coming here, and he had only chosen paths hidden by the big leafy trees. Hence, no one on the main path of the house would realize that he was only 10 meters away from them. But it was just before dawn, and the sun could rise at any moment. The sky was lightening on the horizon. The Feng Manor's lower-ranked servants were already getting up. Right now, 2 maids of lower rank were walking along the path. Have you heard? Miss Wu is back. Of course I have. It's like the biggest news these days. Sigh. Poor Miss Wu. You don't say. Northern Border City is so much better than here. Why did she have to come back? I heard that Lady Wong had them live in Fallen Star Yard. You mean the one with a giant pagoda tree outside the yard? Yes, that one. The 2 cleaning girls walked away as they talked, but an idea struck Yu Minji, who had hidden behind some rocks. After his head cooled down, he recognized the girl in his arms. It was Feng Lu. She was Feng Wu's sister, and he had met her in Northern Border City. Yu Minji remembered that Feng Wu didn't look to be on good terms with his sister, but after all, they were family. Feng Wu would be mad at him if he strangled Feng Lu to death. He just had to rescue her from a giant fire wolf. He had saved Feng Wu's sister, and he was going to claim credit for it. Killing Feng Lu now would do him no good. However, if he brought Feng Lu to Feng Wu, well, Feng Wu would owe him a favor. Ho ho, Yu Minji was exhilarated. According to those maids, Feng Wu lived in Fallen Star Yard now, which had a big pagoda tree outside. Fallen Star Yard wasn't easy to find, but a yard with a big pagoda tree in the front was easy to spot. Yu Minji jumped onto the wall and found the place after a quick look around. Once he had figured that out, Yu Minji picked up Feng Lu and headed for Fallen Star Yard right away. Dawn had yet to break, and it was that time of day when everyone was still sound asleep. Crack. Chapter 308, Blackhearted. Chapter 308, Blackhearted. There was a faint crackling sound. Feng Wu woke up with a start. She narrowed her eyes in the darkness, and a sharp dagger appeared in her hand. Who was it? Who would show up at this hour? It was too early for Lady Wong, for she wanted to ruin the reputation of Feng Wu's branch of the clan, so she would wait until everyone was up. So who could it be? Feng Wu waited by the door, the dagger in her hand glinting coldly. Squeak! The door opened, and a figure entered stealthily. Right at that moment, Feng Wu pressed the blade to the person's throat. Blood squirted out. Yu Minji's stomach lurched. He hadn't expected such a threat. Tossing Feng Lu on the ground, he quickly reached for the dagger with his right hand. However, Feng Wu was one step ahead of him. In the dark, she circled around to Yu Minji's side, using a move from Phoenix Dance, then stabbed down at an acupoint on his waist. Just then, the moon shone into the room through the open door. Under the silver moonlight, Feng Wu made out the teenager's face. Yu Minji! Feng Wu cried out in surprise. Little Feng Wu! Yu Minji was even more surprised. Touching the shallow cut on his throat, he couldn't believe that Feng Wu had just given him that wound. This girl really was a little tiger deep down. However, Yu Minji wasn't what attracted Feng Wu's attention now, for under the moonlight, she spotted Feng Lu on the ground. Feng Lu was still wrapped in Yu Minji's robe. The belt had loosened, exposing most of her breasts, which looked rather fair and tender under the silver moonlight. She couldn't stop moaning. Feng Wu was baffled. Her plans always worked perfectly, for she always made sure to consider the tiniest details in advance. But could someone please explain to her, what was Feng Lu doing here? The girl had been left with the firewolf. Why was she here now? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and looked Yu Minji up and down with an indecipherable expression in her eyes. Yu Minji was here to claim credit. Without an invitation, he sat down in a chair, crossed his legs in a conceited manner, raised his chin, and gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance. Little Feng Wu, see that? Feng Wu nodded. Yup. Yu Minji was gloating and failed to notice the conflicted look on Feng Wu's face. He went on flaunting his achievement. I came to your manor tonight to take a walk. Thinking that little Feng Wu would turn cocky if she knew that he was here tonight just for her, Yu Minji made up a random excuse. I see that young Master Yu is enjoying life, Feng Wu said in a low voice, revealing none of her conflicting emotions. Yup. Crossing his legs at the knees, Yu Minji went on. I was walking around when I heard something in the spiritual beast farm. I went to have a look, and I was shocked. Your family's firewolf was trying to do dirty things to this girl. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Then, Yu Minji couldn't tell her that he had mistaken Feng Lu for Feng Wu and that the girl had tried to stick her tongue in his mouth. So he said, I pushed that wolf away and saw that, oh my God, the girl who had almost been ravished was your sister. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Yu Minji grew more excited as he went on. I was astonished. I'm your friend, I guess. And I couldn't just stand there and let my friend's sister be ruined by an animal. What kind of person would that make me, right? Chapter 309, Because You're Feng Wu. Chapter 309, Because You're Feng Wu. Gazing at Feng Wu, Yu Minji pressed for a reply. Despite her urge to punch him in the face, Feng Wu took a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. Thank you, I guess. You guessed correctly. Yu Minji was thrilled to hear a thank you from Feng Wu, but he feigned a displeased tone. I assume that your sister wouldn't have gone to the fire wolf and tried to fornicate with it voluntarily. Feng Wu said, no. And that fire wolf wouldn't have dragged your sister there by itself either. Feng Wu said, no. I recognized the smell of spring breeze powder in the air. Yu Minji darted an unhurried look at Feng Wu. Do you know what that is? Feng Wu said. You do realize that I'm a medicine refiner, right? That's right. You're a medicine refiner. But you know what? I'm pretty sure that someone set your sister up. Yu Minji frowned. Who would do such a horrible thing to a young woman? Making her fornicate with a spiritual beast? That's just, well, your sister would have been ruined if it hadn't been for me. Feng Wu clenched her fists. Yes. How evil is the person behind all this? They're so black-hearted. That person is rotten to the core, and I bet they're too toxic inside to have any children of their own. Yu Minji said indignantly. Feng Wu blanched and blushed, not sure what expression she should have on her face. She took a deep breath and said nothing. She felt like punching someone. Why are you drawing in your breath all the time? Yu Minji looked at her in confusion. Feng Wu gave him a smile, which was more like a grimace. Yu Minji went back to talking about Feng Lu. I know you and your sister don't get along, but she's still your sister, and I saved her. How are you going to thank me for that? Ha ha. Feng Wu was having a hard time controlling her temper, and she couldn't do it anymore. She had never been in the habit of stretching herself thin. Since she couldn't take it anymore, she decided to tell him everything. Hence, she turned her gaze on Yu Minji and said in a cold voice, "It was me." Yu Minji looked bewildered. What was you? I did it. Feng Wu gave Yu Minji a half-smile. That black-hearted person you're talking about was me. Yu Minji had rarely been shocked growing up, but what Feng Wu said made him jump. He shuddered and sat there as his mouth fell open. Feng Wu gave him an indifferent sidelong glance. Now that the truth was out, Yu Minji should be on his way, right? After all, he was so appalled by the person that had plotted the whole thing. Yu Minji stared at Feng Wu unblinkingly then. He said angrily, "What did she do to you?" He didn't ask why, and he didn't accuse Feng Wu of being so malicious. Instead, he was furious about whatever Feng Lu had done to Feng Wu. Feng Wu stared at Yu Minji. What? What did she do? Are you hurt? Any losses? The concern in Yu Minji's voice was genuine. That wasn't what Feng Wu had expected, and she was very surprised. From Yu Minji's tone earlier, the guy found the person behind all this repulsive. However, when she admitted what she had done, he worried about her well-being, instead of condemning her. You believe me? Feng Wu was too bewildered to say anything else. Of course I do. Yu Minji glared at Feng Wu. I couldn't have cared less about her if she wasn't your sister. That fire wolf could eat her whole, and I wouldn't even blink. I only saved her because she's your sister. Chapter 310. Yu Minji is pissed. Chapter 310. Yu Minji is pissed. Feng Wu would be lying if she said she wasn't touched. All the silly things Yu Minji had done looked very adorable now. Don't you think that I'm a bad person? Feng Wu kept her gaze on Yu Minji. Yu Minji darted an unconcerned look at Feng Wu. Since when were you ever a good person? Feng Wu was speechless. Yu Minji went on. Good person or bad person, you're little Feng Wu, and I'm always on your side. Feng Wu was speechless. What universe had she saved in her past life to earn such trust from Yu Minji? They barely knew each other, and she had even tricked Yu Minji multiple times when she was disguised as the ugly girl. Feng Wu decided that from now on, she would be nicer to Yu Minji. Hence, she told Yu Minji about Feng Lu's original plan. Yu Minji flared up after he heard the whole thing. What? That spring breeze powder was meant for Feng Wu. And it really could have been Feng Wu under that fire wolf. Yu Minji was furious. He went up to Feng Lu and grabbed her by her neck. His grip was so tight that Feng Wu could hear the cracking sound Feng Lu's neck made. She rushed over in a hurry and took Yu Minji's hand. Stop! Yu Minji glared at Feng Wu. I'm going to kill her. Feng Wu snapped. There are a million ways to kill her, but you can't strangle her, especially not in my room. Yu Minji met Feng Wu's gaze. Are you asking me to keep her alive? Feng Wu nodded. For the time being. Just then, she heard some noise outside. Feng Wu was startled, for that meant that Xiaoling and Granny Zhao were up. She would have so much explaining to do if they found Yu Minji here. Hence, Feng Wu told Yu Minji take Feng Lu and leave now. But Yu Minji was going to say something else when Feng Wu cut him off with a shake of her head. Get Feng Lu out of here and we'll talk about it later. Lady Wong would be here soon to search the house, and when that happened, get her out of here? Yu Minji nodded. All right, I'll take care of that first and come back to talk to you. Feng Wu wanted to tell him not to come back after getting rid of Feng Lu, but before she could say so, Yu Minji left as quickly as a gust of wind. Feng Wu was speechless. Yu Minji was very pissed as he jumped over the wall of Fallen Star Yard. He wasn't angry at Feng Wu, but himself. How could he have been so stupid? Although he meant well, he had ruined Feng Wu's plan. Judging from the look on her face, she must have found him so annoying. The more he thought about it, the more vexed he became. So what should he do with Feng Lu? Toss her back to that fire wolf. Yu Minji regretted hurting that wolf so badly. He had ruined the animal's male parts. Sending Feng Lu back there wouldn't change anything. Hence, Yu Minji wandered along the corridor in the manner with Feng Lu in one hand. Wait, Yu Minji heard the groaning and moaning of a couple when he walked past the courtyard. So, someone was doing it there. How about leaving Feng Lu here? At that thought, Yu Minji jumped into the yard, followed the sounds, and entered a room through a window. By then, the couple had finished and were fast asleep. Yu Minji then saw a face he recognized. He only knew a handful of people from the Feng clan, and he happened to run into every single one of them tonight. Chapter 311. I'm doing everyone a favor. Chapter 311. I'm doing everyone a favor. The man sleeping there was none other than Feng Yiran himself. Seeing Feng Lu twisting and moaning in his arms, and Feng Yiran sleeping soundly in bed, Yu Minji decided that after hearing what Feng Lu had plotted against Feng Wu, he would get revenge for Feng Wu by leaving Feng Lu here in her brother's bed. Growing up in the Dark Court, Yu Minji had been deeply influenced by the dark and deviant deeds he saw there. He had kept it from Feng Wu, but that didn't make him any kinder or purer in heart. Yu Minji moved the woman sleeping next to Feng Yiran to the floor, then tossed Feng Lu onto the bed. He was about to leave when he saw his robe on Feng Lu. His stomach lurched. He had been so close to leaving such an important belonging on Feng Lu. If that happened, he would never be able to explain himself. Yu Minji then removed the robe from Feng Lu. He was going to burn it, but he wouldn't do it here. Seeing the naked girl wrap herself around the teenager, and the room was too dark to see the faces clearly, Yu Minji's mouth curled into a wicked grin. He left the room immediately after that. Yu Minji was so proud of what he had done that he thought he would finally be able to report to Feng Wu and claim credit for himself. Hence, he returned to Feng Wu, looking elated. Feng Wu had an ominous feeling when she saw the gloating look on the teenager's face. You got rid of Feng Lu? Yup. Where? Take a wild guess. Yu Minji wanted to whet her appetite. Feng Wu said grumpily, judging by what I know of you so far, you should have thrown her back to the fire wolf. Yu Minji rubbed his nose. I didn't. He would have if he hadn't injured that wolf so severely earlier. You didn't. Feng Wu was surprised. I really didn't. Yu Minji sounded very pleased. I put her somewhere you'll never guess. Feng Wu looked at Yu Minji, finding the teenager rather unreliable. I'll never guess. Feng Wu suddenly had an idea. The 5th courtyard to the north of Fallen Star Yard, with a vermilion iron gate. Did you leave her there? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. What? Yu Minji cried out in surprise. Little Feng Wu, can you read minds? How did you know? Well, I left her in Feng Yiran's bed. Ha ha. Feng Wu was speechless. That's so. I was doing her a favor, said Yu Minji matter-of-factly. She's inhaled spring breeze powder. Without relief, she'll implode and die. Who else can help her like that in the Feng clan? Feng Wu was speechless. Without a man to sleep with, she'll die. I was saving her life. Yu Minji said presumptuously. I'm doing everyone a favor. Feng Wu was speechless. She dashed out of her room without another word. Feng Wu had thought about getting Feng Yiran involved when she learned about Lady Wong's plan. But while Feng Yiran wasn't a good person, he hadn't tried to kill Feng Wu so far. At least not that Feng Wu knew of. Hence, Feng Wu had left Feng Yiran out. And that was why she had thrown Feng Lu into the firewolf stable. As it turned out, Feng Yiran had been dragged into this after all, and Feng Wu wanted to stop it before it was too late. However, when she snuck into Feng Yiran's courtyard, she heard the unmistakable sounds of a man and a woman doing you-know-what. Chapter 312. Something's terribly wrong. Chapter 312. Something's terribly wrong. On hearing the sounds, Feng Wu knew that she was too late. Rubbing her nose, Feng Wu quickly returned to Fallen Star Yard before anyone could spot her. Seeing Feng Wu's blushing cheeks, Yuminji knew that Feng Lu had done what the drug was supposed to make her do. So, they're sleeping together, are they? Yuminji gloated. Oomph. That's what she gets for trying to harm you. I like to see her face when she wakes up. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Flying snow building. Preoccupied, Lady Wang woke up earlier than she usually did, before the sun had fully risen. Slowly opening her eyes, she looked at that pale blue sky outside and smiled a little when she went over her plan in her head. The incense was still burning. Smoke curled up and a faint fragrance filled the air. Lady Wang was in an even better mood. She had no idea that Feng Wu would be so easy to handle this time. She got up and let her maids help her dress. The lilac color of her clothes made her look radiant. Darting a casual look at Feng Yanfeng, who was still fast asleep, Lady Wang grinned malevolently. Just then, the hurried footsteps of a maid came from outside. "Master, my lady, something's wrong." She was a low-ranked maid who worked in Lady Wang's place and had a very forgettable face. However, no one cared what she looked like at the moment, for everyone was surprised by how flustered she appeared. She was part of Lady Wang's plan, but Feng Yanfeng didn't know that. Waking up with a start, he glared at the maid, whose forehead was covered with sweat. Feng Yanfeng found the maid's face unfamiliar, but didn't think much of it. He was too angry at being woken up like this. Glaring at the maid, he said, "Throw this woman out. Master, something's wrong. Something's terribly wrong." The maid blanched and darted a pleading look at Lady Wang. Of course, Lady Wang was going to make this as big a scene as possible. She sat down next to Feng Yanfeng and straightened his clothes with her pretty hands. Meanwhile, she said softly, "My lord, Ryue needs to be disciplined for shouting all the time. But look at all the sweat on her face. I think something big must have happened. How about we hear her out, and then we can decide if we should punish her or not." Feng Yanfeng liked Lady Wang enough to hear her out. At those words, he turned his sharp gaze on Ryue. "Speak, master." Ryue was shaking with excitement. I walked past Fallen Star Yard just then, and I heard Miss Wu. Miss Wu. Feng Yanfeng nearly jumped out of bed. Miss Wu, as in Feng Wu, the once genius whom they had deemed so promising before. Feng Wu's back. Feng Yanfeng hadn't been told. Lady Wang rubbed her forehead. "Yes, they arrived yesterday. I was so exhausted from helping them settle in that I fell asleep before you came back. That's why I haven't told you yet. And they're living in Fallen Star Yard." Feng Yanfeng frowned. As the current head of the clan, Feng Yanfeng knew Fallen Star Yard's history better than anyone else, and he knew how dilapidated that place was. Lady Wang smiled bitterly. "I would love to give them a place in the center of the manor, but that way so many people would walk past their house every day. My lord, as you may know, ever since what happened 5 years ago, Xiao Wu has..." Chapter 313. No. Please stop. Chapter 313. Oh, please stop. She can't let it go, and I'm worried that she won't be able to handle all the pointing fingers. That's why I let them live in Fallen Star Yard in a remote part of the manor. Feng Yanfeng looked less displeased now. Lady Wang took the opportunity and went on. "My lord, if you don't like that arrangement, I'll move them out of Fallen Star Yard and give them..." "That won't be necessary." Feng Yanfeng waved her off. "You did the right thing. Feng Wu is useless now. She is of no help to this family, and she's lucky to even have food on her table. There's no need to give her favorable treatment." Lady Wang looked troubled. "But Xiao Wu may not be happy. Why should we care how she feels?" Feng Yinfeng smiled cruelly. Does she think she's still the same Feng Wu from 5 years ago? That settled Lady Wang's mind. Seeing Feng Yinfeng's attitude, she could do a lot of things without hesitation from now on. Right? What did you say about Miss Wu? Feng Yinfeng finally remembered that Ryue was still kneeling there, and he darted a cold glance at her. Master, something's happened. I saw a man going into Fallen Star Yard, and he went into Miss Wu's bedroom. What? Feng Yinfeng almost bolted up. Are you sure? Yes. I saw it with my own eyes. I can swear on my life. Ryue made her tone very righteous and brave. Feng Yinfeng could no longer stay in bed. He rushed to the door right away. My lord, slow down. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. Lady Wang tugged at Feng Yinfeng's sleeve and said in a worried tone, Xiao Wu grew up around us, and we know her well. She's a good kid. She'd never do anything to tarnish the reputation of our clan. The more Lady Wang said, the angrier Feng Yinfeng became. She's been in Northern Border City for 5 years. Who knows what filthy habits she picked up there? I need to see for myself. Come, let's have a look. Feng Yinfeng threw a robe over his shoulders, then hurried off. Lady Wang and Granny Gue exchanged looks, and both smiled in satisfaction. They hadn't expected it to be so easy to ruin Feng Wu. My lord, wait. My lord, please don't get too cross. We have to watch out for your health. Lady Wang followed Feng Yinfeng out in a hurry. Fallen Star Yard. The yard probably had something against Feng Wu. Feng Lu had only broken the old door yesterday, and the plank in it had only just been replaced before Feng Yinfeng arrived. Standing outside Fallen Star Yard, Feng Yinfeng's anger had subsided a little, and he was able to think. Could it be a misunderstanding? Was Feng Wu that kind of girl? Was it appropriate for him to question her like this just because of something a random maid said? Just as Feng Yinfeng was standing there in hesitation, he heard mumbling inside, which seemed to suggest something erotic. It hurt, Sob. Hurt, slow down. No, please don't. I can't, no, Sob. That was such a seductive voice. Feng Yinfeng felt the blood rush to his head. They were indeed daughter and father, for Feng Yinfeng entered the courtyard in exactly the same manner as Feng Lu. Bang! The door was kicked open. There was no one in the yard. Feng Yinfeng rushed in and kicked the door to a room open. The voice was coming from there. Lady Wang followed him in a hurry, lifting her skirt off the ground. She was panting from all the running. Chapter 314. What the hell? Chapter 314. What the hell? My lord, please calm down. Xiao Wu only lost her head for a moment. However, Lady Wang was baffled by what she saw. This wasn't what she had in mind. Feng Wu sat in a chair with one sleeve rolled up to her elbow. Qiuling was crouched down by her side and applying a purple potion to Feng Wu's fair wrist. The potion was too dark for them to make out the wound, but judging from Feng Wu's teary eyes, it looked rather painful. Feng Wu wasn't the only one in the room. Her mother and Granny Zhao were also there. The beautiful lady cried with Feng Wu. Holding Feng Wu's hand, she sobbed, Xiao Wu sobbed. My poor Xiao Wu, why is this happening? What the hell was this? Lady Wang was completely at a loss. What happened to fornication? And what about that man Feng Wu was supposed to be sleeping with? Where was he? Lady Wang felt as if a bucket of cold water had been dumped over her head, and she was chilled to the bone. She stole a glance at Feng Yinfeng, whose face was livid and the look in his eyes indecipherable. He couldn't keep his eyes off Feng Wu's beautiful mother. Lady Wang felt like she was going to lose her mind. Rage rushed through her, and she suddenly had the urge to rip off Feng Wu's and the beautiful ladies' faces. Feng Wu looked up at Feng Yinfeng with her innocent eyes. Uncle, why are you here? Feng Yinfeng was finally able to shift his gaze away from his sister-in-law. Looking into Feng Wu's innocent, teary eyes, he was utterly embarrassed. Carried away by that maid's words, he was here to catch Feng Wu in the act. Feng Wu blinked at Feng Yinfeng. Uncle, did you hear about my injury and came all the way here to visit me? Yes, that's right. Feng Yinfeng snapped out of his trance and looked like what a gracious uncle should. Xiao Wu, a maid told me about your wounded hand this morning. How are you doing? Does it hurt? Feng Wu nodded weakly at Feng Yinfeng's phony cordiality. It hurts. Feng Yinfeng didn't know what to say after that. Feng Wu then smiled through her tears. But I'm so touched. Uncle, I see that you broke my door because you're worried about me so much. My burnt wrist feels much better now. Feng Yinfeng rubbed his nose. Of course, he couldn't admit that he had broken her door because he was so eager to catch the imaginary man. He could only smile and try to make up for it. Xiao Wu, you just come back and I know you're short a lot of necessities. I'll tell your aunt to help you with them. She'll make sure you and your widowed mum live here comfortably. Widowed mum? Feng Wu pondered over the expression. Her father was only missing and no one was sure what had happened to him. Was her uncle so eager to come to that conclusion? Feng Wu found those words highly suspicious. However, she still smiled at Feng Yinfeng. Uncle, you're so nice to us. I don't know how we're going to survive without your help. We left northern border city with a lot of belongings, but we ran into some bandits on the way here, and we narrowly escaped death. But our luggage was... The beautiful lady was reminded of all the clothes and jewelry she had lost during the journey, and she wept. She looked as pretty as pear blossoms bathed in the rain, and one felt like throwing their arms around her to comfort her. Chapter 3:15, Quickly. Chapter 3:15, Quickly. Feng Yinfeng couldn't peel his eyes away from the beautiful lady, whose crying had evoked a desire inside him to protect her. With a wave of his hand, he said, I'll have your aunt send you 5,000 taels of silver later so that you can get everything you need to live comfortably. 5,000 taels of silver. That almost gave Lady Wang a heart attack. The idle Lord Feng obviously had zero idea of the costs of running a household. 5,000 silver taels was enough to sustain the entire clan for 2 months. My lord, Lady Wang was going to interfere when Feng Yinfeng darted a cold, harsh glance at her, which chilled Lady Wang to the bone. Lady Wang's stomach lurched, and she couldn't utter a word. She couldn't believe this. Why hadn't the spring breeze powder worked? Lady Wang darted a questioning look at Granny Gui, asking the latter with her eyes if she had really buried the stuff there. Granny Gui was sick with anxiety. Of course she had. She had done it herself, and she made sure that it was where it should be. Just then, someone cried out outside. There's a man. He's getting away. Riyue, who had tagged along, almost fainted from what was going on. When no one was looking, she quietly backed out of the room and tried to sneak off. For if she didn't, she wouldn't live to see another sunrise. Lady Wang would get rid of her to tie up the loose ends, and the master would want her dead for delivering false information. Riyue was going to flee when she saw a figure dash out of Fallen Star Yard and run away quickly, but not quickly enough to avoid detection. Lady Wang turned around just in time to spot that figure. A man. There really was a man hiding in Fallen Star Yard. Exasperated, Lady Wang grabbed Feng Yinfeng and dragged him along with her. Feng Yinfeng saw no such figure and didn't want to leave. However, Lady Wang was very certain of herself. Quickly, we'll know what's going on when we catch the guy and interrogate him. Quickly. Feng Yinfeng had come with some guards, who were all waiting for Feng Yinfeng's instructions. They would follow only their master's command. Feng Yinfeng hesitated. That figure indeed looked suspicious. Was Feng Wu really having inappropriate relations with a man? Or could it have been his sister-in-law? Feng Yinfeng lost his composure at that thought. Maybe he's a thief. Catch him. After that, Feng Yinfeng dashed off, leading the way. Lady Wang was set on ruining Feng Wu's reputation this morning, and she had brought quite a few people with her. Right now, every single one of them followed Feng Yinfeng and Lady Wang out. Fallen Star Yard, which had been boisterous only a moment ago, grew very quiet. Miss, Chilling turned to Feng Wu, looking worried. No one but Feng Wu knew the role Yuminji played here, and everyone became very concerned. The beautiful lady was the only exception. She was still holding Feng Wu's arm and weeping nonstop. Feng Wu was speechless. Her mother was the only one here that thought Feng Wu's wrist had really been burnt. Feng Wu turned her attention back to Chilling. It's finally getting interesting. Feng Wu smiled confidently. We shouldn't miss out on the fun. With that, Feng Wu rose to her feet and asked the others, anyone interested? Follow me if you are. Granny Zhao smiled mildly. Qiuling, go with Miss Wu. I'll stay here with my lady. But... Chapter 316, So Baffled. Chapter 316, So Baffled. Feng Wu and Qiuling ran after the crowd. After all the disappointment, Lady Wang had finally gotten the evidence she was hoping for, and she wasn't going to rest until she caught the secret lover. She would interrogate the man under torture until he confessed. Only then could she make Feng Wu's scandal stick. At that moment, that figure disappeared into a courtyard. The courtyard was called Whistling Pines, and it was where Feng Yiran lived. As the most capable man in the crowd, Feng Yinfeng was in the lead, with Lady Wang and the others behind him. Feng Yinfeng narrowed his eyes. Was his wife telling the truth then? Had Feng Wu really done that unspeakable thing? If that was the case, he was going to kill Feng Wu himself. Meanwhile, in Whistling Pines yard, Feng Yiran, who had fallen asleep after a passionate night, still had a smile on his face. Since when was Xue, his concubine maid, this seductive and demanding? He could barely get it up after 2 rounds in a row, but she was still asking for more. More, please more. Her voice was so enchanting that he thought he was going to melt from it. When he finally began to wake up, Feng Yiran was suddenly struck by something. That voice, that didn't sound like Xue, but more like Feng Lu, his sister. No, what was he thinking? How could he think of Feng Lu at a time like this? Feng Yiran opened his eyes and turned toward the window, trying to see what time it was. His eyes then caught sight of a familiar figure on the floor. A naked girl lay there on her back. She had a slim body, fair skin, and a comely face. It was none other than Xue, his concubine maid. Xue? What was she doing lying on the floor? Wait, if Xue was there, who was he holding in his arms? Feng Yiran's stomach turned, and an ominous feeling washed over him. He couldn't even summon the courage to look down. More. I want more, The girl caressed his chest with her slim fingers. Feng Yiran felt sick and got goosebumps all over. He shifted his gaze from her fingers to her wrist, then up her arm, and slowly to her face. Oh God! Feng Yiran heard a rumbling sound in his ears, and he felt all his blood rush to his head. Lying there in his arms was none other than Feng Lu, his sister from the same parents. His biological sister, Feng Lu. At that moment, Feng Yiran's brain stopped working. So he had been sleeping with. Feng Yiran looked down and saw smears of blood on his sheet. He shut his eyes, wishing that he could pass out now. What on earth was going on? Why was Xue on the floor? Why was Feng Lu in his bed? And how could he have done such a thing with Feng Lu? Feng Lu tried to get back into Feng Yiran's arms, but Feng Yiran pushed her away. Agitated as he was, Feng Yiran pushed a little too hard, and Feng Lu bumped into the hard wooden headboard. It made her see stars for a moment. Feng Lu opened her sleepy eyes at the pain and gradually woke up. By now, the sun had risen and the room was brightly lit. Hence, Feng Lu saw the face in front of her clearly. It was Feng Yiran, her own brother. Feng Yiran didn't have any clothes on and was eyeing her with an indecipherable look on his face. Feng Lu looked down and saw that she was as naked as he was. Chapter 317. Where are my clothes? Chapter 317. Where are my clothes? One look at all the marks all over her body, and she knew what had happened. Feng Lu's head went completely blank, and she sat there dazed, as if she had been struck by a thunderbolt. A few seconds later, Feng Lu came back to herself and opened her mouth to scream. However, Feng Yiran covered her mouth before she could make any sound. The look in his eyes was cruel and murderous. Do you want to die? Feng Yiran whispered in a threatening voice. Tears rolled down Feng Lu's cheeks. Are you trying to bring disgrace and ruin upon both of us? Feng Lu wailed and shook her head repeatedly. Feng Yiran stared into her eyes. I'm going to let you speak now, but no screaming. Feng Lu nodded. Feng Yuan let go, and Feng Lu wrapped herself in the duvet, moving as far away from him as possible. She hissed at Feng Yuan between broken sobs. Why? Why did you do this to me? You've ruined my future. How am I going to marry the crown prince now? Feng Yuan only found her ridiculous. Marry Jun Lin Yuan? Where did she get that idea from? He snarled back. Look around. This is Whistling Pine's yard, and you're in my bed. I was going to ask you, why did you get into my bed in the middle of the night and act like a slut? I thought you were Shui, so I slept with you. How is that my fault? That successfully shut Feng Lu up. She went back to weeping. Feng Yuan said in vexation, What happened has happened, and we can't do anything about that now. Pull yourself together. You need to leave before anyone else finds out. Feng Lu wouldn't accept the reality. Feng Wu has to be 1,000 times more miserable than I am now. She has to live in hell. How does Feng Wu have anything to do with this? Feng Yuan was bewildered. Feng Lu smirked. Mother buried spring breeze powder in Feng Wu's yard, and I had Kaiwa open up the spiritual beast farm and lure the animals to Fallen Star Yard. Feng Wu is ruined. Feng Yuan frowned. Would someone as clever as Feng Wu walk into a trap that easily? Could what happened to Feng Lu have something to do with Feng Wu? Feng Yuan was still trying to figure out when he heard shuffling footsteps outside. Thief! Close the door. Close all the doors. No one is leaving this yard. Feng Yuan? Where's Feng Yuan? Judging by the sounds, there were a lot of people coming. Feng Yuan and Feng Lu were dumbfounded. If Feng Lu had put on her clothes and snuck out as soon as she woke up, they wouldn't be stuck here now. However, those people outside were about to come in. Get dressed. Quickly. Feng Yuan freaked out. If someone walked in now and saw the state they were in, both of them would be ruined. Feng Lu was also freaking out. The footsteps moved closer and picked up speed. She was already feeling so much dread to begin with. My skirt? Where's my skirt? God, I can't find my robe. Feng Lu was so flustered that she couldn't do anything but stand around and shed tears. A voice rang out just outside the room at that moment. Where's Feng Yuan? Someone was coming in. Without thinking, Feng Lu jumped onto the bed, lying flat on her stomach and covering herself up with the duvet. Feng Yuan was equally startled. He only had time to throw Shui onto the bed before the door to his room was kicked open. Feng Yinfeng rushed in, followed by everyone else. Feng Yuan was shocked. Lady Wang asked in exasperation, Yuan, where is he? He who? Chapter 318. There's no thief. Chapter 318. There's no thief. Feng Yuan blanched. Had his parents heard about what he and Feng Lu had done, and were here to catch them in the act? If that was the case, was he going to be ruined now? Feng Yuan cared for nothing more than his image, and his reputation had always been his biggest concern. The thief! Lady Wang cried out. We followed him all the way here and saw him run into Whistling Pine's yard. We came after him, and he was last seen outside your door. He must have entered your room. Feng Yuan clenched his fists. He finally realized that this was a trap aimed at him and Feng Lu. Rising to his feet and throwing a robe around his shoulders, he said diffidently, Mother, you must be mistaken. I saw no such thief. That's not possible. I saw it with my own eyes. Lady Wang wouldn't give up. You must have been asleep and missed him. You lot, search the room. Hiding under the duvet, Feng Lu felt like crying. That was her own mother. Couldn't she just leave? Why did she have to search the room? She would find her own daughter if she kept doing this. Feng Lu wouldn't have been so flustered if it were any normal day, but she was naked now and she was in her brother's bed. If someone lifted the duvet, Feng Lu trembled in anger and exasperation. However, all Lady Wang could think of now was finding that thief and bringing a host of fabricated charges against Feng Wu. No one could persuade her otherwise. Find him. Don't leave any stone unturned. I must find him. Lady Wang burned with rage. Feng Yuan looked at her coldly. Mother, this is my bedroom. Please leave. Feng Wu and Qiuling sauntered in at that moment. After hearing Feng Yuan's words, Feng Wu smiled at Lady Wang. Aunt, there's no thief. You must be mistaken. Lady Wang was furious. She had to catch that thief. My lady, we've searched the entire Whistling Pines yard and we found no one. A guard came in from outside and informed Lady Wang in a low voice. My lady, we've searched the bedroom. There's no thief here. Another guard reported. Feng Wu smiled. Aunt, see? There's no thief. It's really just a misunderstanding. Feng Yinfeng hesitated. Was Feng Wu telling the truth? Was there no such thief? Searching his memory, he realized that he hadn't seen any such figure himself, but only thought there was one because his wife insisted. Lady Wang felt uneasy. If she couldn't find a thief, the others would think that she had plotted against Feng Wu's family, and that was an accusation she didn't want to be associated with. Feng Yinfeng frowned. Well, since we didn't find any thief, it must be a misunderstanding. Everyone, go back to whatever you were doing. After that, he walked out first. The rest of his servants and guards followed him out. But not Lady Wang. The look her husband gave her was filled with disappointment when he left. At that thought, Lady Wang turned to stare at the duvet on the bed. That wasn't right. Iran was up and Shui, his concubine maid, was sleeping on the other side of the bed. Why did it look like there was something under the duvet? An idea struck Lady Wang. It was the thief. It had to be him. He had hidden under the duvet, and that was why no one had found him. Chapter 319. Their Brother and Sister. Chapter 319. Their Brother and Sister. At that thought, Lady Wang rushed to the bed, grabbed a corner of the duvet, and yanked it off the bed. Feng Yiran's head went blank. He didn't expect Lady Wang to move so abruptly. What happened next was quicker than words could describe. With all her strength, Lady Wang pulled the duvet off the bed with a smirk. Gotcha! You're not going anywhere. The moment Lady Wang removed the duvet from the bed, Feng Lu looked over her shoulder and met Lady Wang's gaze. Both women screamed when their eyes met. Only then did Feng Yiran realize what had happened. He rushed over and shoved his mother to the side. Lady Wang's back smashed into the closet, and the pain brought tears to her eyes. However, she couldn't feel it. She could hardly breathe, for the physical pain was nothing compared to the pain inside. That was Feng Lu. Feng Lu was naked in Feng Yiran's bed. They were brother and sister. Feng Yiran regretted it as soon as he pushed Lady Wang away. He hurried over, trying to help her to her feet. However, his mother only glared at him. The ferocity in her eyes reminded him of a she-wolf. It was Feng Wu's doing. Feng Yiran ground his teeth, turning his cold gaze on Feng Wu. Lady Wang turned to look at Feng Wu as well. Because of all the noise they made, all those that had left came back. Feng Yinfeng was the first to enter the room. He frowned at Lady Wang. What's going on? Lady Wang cried in silence. In her shaken state, she looked rather appealing, and Feng Yinfeng softened right away. At an angle her husband couldn't see, Lady Wang stared at Feng Wu with a murderous look in her eyes. By now, she had figured out everything. Feng Wu had found out about the spring breeze powder, which Lady Wang had gotten Granny Gue to bury in Fallen Star Yard. Instead of making a scene out of it, Feng Wu had kept her silence and used the drug on Feng Lu instead. Her poor girl. Lady Wang shed more tears. Lady Wang had dropped the duvet, and Feng Lu hid back under it. Fearing that the others might try to move the duvet, Lady Wang sat down on the bed, shielding the duvet from sight. It's nothing. I tripped and bumped into the closet, and it hurts. Lady Wang wept weakly. She couldn't risk telling Feng Yinfeng, for she knew very well that once Feng Yinfeng saw Feng Lu in this state, he would explode. When that happened, both Feng Yiran and Feng Lu would be finished. There really isn't any thief. It was my fault. Can we go back now? Lady Wang wrapped her soft arms around Feng Yinfeng's neck and sobbed quietly. Lady Wang could be quite flirtatious when she tried, and Feng Yinfeng was mesmerized right away. He nodded. Sure, let me carry you. The others scattered after Lady Wang and Feng Yinfeng left. Feng Wu was going to leave with Xiuling when she heard Feng Yiran's cold, malicious voice behind her. Feng Wu, you must be so proud of yourself. Chilling felt the skin on the back of her neck tingle, as if a venomous snake was staring at her. A cold sensation ran down her spine, and she was terrified. She couldn't help but look at her mistress. Was it going to get ugly now? Feng Wu paused, turned around, and smiled at Feng Yiran. Feng Yiran, I have no idea what you're talking about. By now, all the others had left, and Feng Lu jumped out of bed. She glared at Feng Wu with eyes that could spit fire before charging at her like a furious little lion. Feng Wu, I'm gonna... Chapter 320, Feng Wu. I'm going to kill you. Chapter 320, Feng Wu. I'm going to kill you. Feng Wu. I'm going to kill you. Feng Lu drew out a sword that was hanging on the wall and stabbed at Feng Wu. The blade glinted. Feng Wu tilted her head and easily dodged the strike. Grabbing Feng Lu's hand, which held the sword with her own right hand, Feng Wu smiled teasingly. Are you sure you don't need to put some clothes on before killing me? Those words were like a hard slap to Feng Lu's face. Her head spun, and she was too furious to see things clearly. Feng Wu barely used any strength, and Feng Lu fell back on the bed at her push. Feng Yiran kept his murderous gaze on Feng Wu. But Feng Wu wasn't threatened. She only darted a casual look at them. Incest, how exotic. You had fun, then you try to blame it on me. Aren't you afraid that I'll tell everyone what you did? Feng Lu gripped the sheets so tightly that her knuckles went white. Feng Yiran thought the same thing. He was considering the possibility of killing Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled at the look on Feng Yiran's face. You're thinking about it, aren't you? Want to have a go? She then recalled when Feng Yiran and Feng Lu had left her family to the wolves. Well, Feng Yiran was anything but innocent. The more emboldened and cool-headed Feng Wu appeared, the more hesitant Feng Yiran became. He recalled on their way back to the Imperial capital when he had tried to deal with Feng Wu but had been poisoned. Although this unruly girl didn't know any martial arts, she had more than enough tricks to make up for it. If he couldn't take her down once and for all, things would get nasty, putting him in a very difficult position. Hence, he had to placate Feng Wu for now. Let's talk. Feng Yiran put away his murderous intention for the time being. Feng Wu smirked. You're in no position to negotiate with me. Get your mother. Feng Wu had everything planned down to the very last detail. Despite the unexpected episode with Yuminji, she had still managed to get the results she wanted. After that, Feng Wu left with chilling. Tears welled up in Feng Lu's eyes. She had never felt so aggrieved before. She glared at Feng Yiran. Why didn't you kill her? Why? Get out. Feng Yiran lost his temper at Feng Lu for the first time. Flying snow building. After Feng Yinfeng carried her back to her room, Lady Wang made up an excuse of not feeling well and went to lie down. Feng Yinfeng had business at court, so he left shortly afterward. Lady Wang bolted up as soon as Feng Yinfeng left. Her pale face turned livid as blue veins popped out on her forehead. Lady Wang felt like stabbing someone as soon as she remembered what she had seen on Feng Yiran's bed a moment ago. Granny Gui used to be Lady Wang's wet nurse and was the lady's most trusted servant. She was with Lady Wang all the time. Therefore, she had seen everything the lady saw. My lady. Tears welled up in Granny Gui's eyes, and she was full of remorse. She slapped herself repeatedly as she cried. My lady, it's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, Miss Lu and the young master wouldn't have. Lady Wang always sided with those she trusted. Even now, she wouldn't blame Granny Gui for anything. Glaring in the direction of Fallen Star Yard, she said, It's all Feng Wu's doing. She's pure evil. I'm going to kill her. But my lady, getting revenge requires patience. The most important thing now is to make sure that Feng Wu won't tell anyone. Fury had caused Lady Wang to lose her head, but not Granny Gui. She tried to talk sense into her lady. Let's bribe her first so that she won't talk. We can always deal with her later. Otherwise, if word gets out. Chapter 321, A Deal. Chapter 321, A Deal. Lady Wang still wouldn't accept the reality. Maybe nothing happened between them. Maybe Xiao Lu is fine, right? Granny Gui sighed. Rising to her feet in a hurry, Lady Wang almost knocked a chair over. I'm going to ask Xiao Lu now. Maybe she's all right. Flower Butterfly Yard, Perching Phoenix Pavilion. A tall Chinese parasol tree stood outside the building, its green leaves as clean as if they had just been washed. However, Feng Lu, who was lying in bed, didn't feel clean at all. Lady Wang rushed into the room while Granny Gui guarded the door. Grabbing Feng Lu's shoulders with both hands, she asked in a harsh tone and a twisted face, Xiao Lu, tell me the truth. Did it really happen? Did it? Feng Lu didn't answer the question directly. Instead, she grasped her mother's hands and asked eagerly, will Feng Wu tell the others? Am I going to be ruined? My reputation. Mother, help me. Help me. There was no need to ask any longer. The milk had been spilled. My poor Xiao Lu. Lady Wang wept in sorrow and rage. With everything that had happened that morning, Lady Wang was finally able to calm down by noon and proceeded to do damage control. One had to admit that Lady Wang was nothing if not a tough woman. A rainstorm hit town around noon, and a chilly wind blew as the rain poured down. The sky was dark, and no one had any idea when it would stop. Granny Gui arrived, walking hastily and holding an oil paper umbrella. Because the gate of Fallen Star Yard, which had been broken a second time that morning, hadn't been replaced yet, Granny Gui walked straight in. Granny Gui held a sense of superiority toward Feng Wu's branch of the family, and she said to Granny Zhao in a haughty manner, Where's Miss Wu? I'm taking her to see Lady Wang now. Granny Zhao frowned and said coldly, Lady Wang doesn't necessarily have the final say. Wait here. I'll go inform Miss Wu. After that, Granny Zhao closed the door in Granny Gui's face, so abruptly that it almost hit Granny Gui's nose. Granny Gui was so frustrated. Granny Zhao came back before long, closing the door behind her, but Feng Wu was nowhere to be seen. Where's Miss Wu? Granny Zhao said in an indifferent tone. Miss Wu says she can't be bothered to go out in such weather. If Lady Wang has something to say, she'll have to come here herself. That was word for word what Feng Wu said. Granny Gui almost had a stroke. How arrogant! Does Miss Wu have no respect for her superiors at all? Miss Wu says if Lady Wang doesn't feel like it, we can always meet another day. No matter now, exasperated Granny Gui appeared. Granny Zhao kept her composure, her attitude neither haughty nor humble. It went without saying that Feng Wu had the upper hand. Granny Gui stormed off, flying snow building. On hearing Granny Gui's report, Lady Wang was so furious that she smashed several vases. How dare she? Who on earth does she think she is? Asking me to go to her. However, Lady Wang had no choice but to do as told. For with each passing day, the risk of the secret being leaked increased. Fallen Star Yard. Feng Wu and Xiuling were the only ones here who knew exactly what had happened. Even Granny Zhao only had a general idea. Lady Wang is here, Granny Zhao told Feng Wu. Xiuling practically idolized Feng Wu and had stars in her eyes. Miss, even Lady Wang has conceded, and you've just been back for a day. I knew it. I knew that nothing in this world can beat my mistress. Xiuling's admiration for her mistress was genuine, for despite the quagmire they seemed to have been dragged into, Feng Wu had been able to find a way out almost right away. Chapter 322, Unhurried and Unperturbed. Chapter 322, Unhurried and Unperturbed. Feng Wu only smiled mildly. We've startled the snake, and from now on, we'll have to be extra careful. We can't afford to lower our guard over such a petty achievement. Yes, the last time Lady Wang was here, she had been surrounded by servants, which showed how eager she had been to demonstrate her power. But now, Granny Gui was the only servant she brought with her. Even with Granny Gui holding the umbrella for her, Lady Wang was drenched up to her knees after walking all the way to Fallen Star Yard. Her embroidered shoes left wet footprints on the dry floor. Lady Wang seethed with rage, but she forced herself to stay calm. I need to talk to you in private. Lady Wong looked down at Feng Wu in a haughty manner. Feng Wu didn't even stand up. She only darted a look at Qiuling. Everyone left the room after that, and Qiuling walked out last. She closed the door quietly behind her. Lady Wong glared at Feng Wu, her eyes spitting fire and blue veins popping in the corner of her forehead. There was a murderous look on her face, and she looked as if she was ready to tear Feng Wu into pieces. Feng Wu sat on a mahogany chair decorated with carved patterns. A small red clay stove sat on the table in front of her, and a clay teapot simmered on it. The tea was boiling. This girl looked so sure of herself. Lady Wong was furious. Feng Wu gestured at Lady Wong to sit down with a casual smile on her face. We've only just moved in, and there's nothing I can offer you to drink. We did find a bag of tea in the kitchen this morning, but it smelled moldy, and I didn't think I should disgust you with that. Try some tea made from fire chrysanthemum, then. It's quite soothing. Lady Wong glowered at Feng Wu. What on earth do you want? Feng Wu played with the cup in her slender fingers. Her movements were so elegant and pleasing to the eye. Her calmness only enraged Lady Wong further. What do you want? Speak. Lady Wong was defeated before negotiations had even started. Feng Wu darted a casual look at Lady Wong. Aunt, I can detect a murderous intention in your eyes. Is that what you're going to do to me? Lady Wong finally managed to let out a snort. It'll be as easy as stepping on an ant. Have no doubt of that. Feng Wu chuckled. Even you are doubting it yourself, or you would never have come here in a rainstorm. That successfully silenced Lady Wong. You've got a sharp tongue, only in comparison with you. Lady Wong was rendered speechless again. She had been right. Feng Wu was born to be her archenemy. That annoying woman had given birth to an even more annoying girl. Taking a deep breath, Lady Wong tried her best to cover up her anger. She decided to reason with Feng Wu. Xiao Wu, you should know better. If word gets out, your brother and sister will be ruined, but you won't be any better off either. People will say nasty things about the daughters of the Feng clan, and you'll lose all prospects of marrying into a good family. And I can marry into a good family now. I'm the only girl in my extended family, but you have quite a few in yours, don't you? I don't have much to lose here, and I'm happy with the outcome. Feng Wu smiled. Lady Wong. Feng Wu went on smiling. Lady Wong took a deep breath. You have no proof. Proof? Feng Wu asked. How about Feng Lu's undergarment stained with her virgin blood? Feng Wu was bluffing. That piece of clothing had long been torn to pieces by that fire wolf, but Lady Wong bought it right away. Rising to her feet, she pointed her finger at Feng Wu accusingly. Do you want me to show it to you? It'll remind you of your own son and daughter. Chapter 323. Do you like me that much? Chapter 323. Do you like me that much? Shut your mouth. Lady Wong turned scarlet red, and her face contorted with rage. What is it that you want? Very simple. Playing with the teacup. Feng Wu beamed at her. I want you to stop targeting me, but I know that's not going to happen, is it? Lady Wong wanted to lie and say that she could do that, but she wasn't able to make a sound when she looked into Feng Wu's bright, knowing eyes. So, what I'm asking for is very straightforward. Feng Wu was still smiling, her eyes sparkling. However, there was something intimidating about her. You can keep doing whatever you want to do to me, but leave my family out of it. Try that, and I'll talk. You know I'm capable of doing that. Lady Wong clenched her fists in her sleeves. Why should I believe you? Do you have any other choice? Feng Wu sounded totally unconcerned. Lady Wong stood up abruptly. You better keep your promise. She marched off after that. Qiuling, see my aunt out. Yes. Once Lady Wong left, Qiuling asked Feng Wu criously, Miss Wu, what did you say to Lady Wong? She was so angry she almost bumped into a tree. Feng Wu only smiled. It was a great opening. She didn't worry about her own safety all that much, but she was concerned about her family. Only after she made sure that they were left in peace could she go off to do what she needed to do without worry. It was just that with Lady Wong's temperament, that deal wouldn't last very long. So, Feng Wu had two priorities now. First of all, she needed to speed up her cultivation. Only when she was strong enough could she make others listen to her and protect her own family. Secondly, she needed to network, and she had to meet more influential people. When she had enough powerful friends, Lady Wong would fear her, which would give Feng Wu temporary safety. Speaking of powerful people, no one in the imperial capital suited that expression more than the crown prince. Resting her chin on her hands, Feng Wu recalled what happened in that lake the other day. Feng Wu, do you really like me that much? Feng Wu, you're very attractive, but you're also way out of line. I won't stop you from falling in love with me, but please restrain yourself and don't interfere in my life. Feng Wu narrowed her pretty eyes. Those words still irritated her. Jun Lin Yuan, that self-centered bastard. I'm never going near him again. It'll only bring me more humiliation. The more Feng Wu thought about it, the angrier she became. Oh, a cute cub stuck its head out of Feng Wu's sleeve and looked at her with glistening eyes. It looked worried. You know nothing, little thing. Feng Wu rubbed Feng Tutu's head. She then remembered that Feng Tutu was running out of food. Seeing that the rain had stopped, Feng Wu stuffed the cub into her chest pocket, left some instructions for Chioling, then jumped over the wall. The good thing about Fallen Star Yard was that it was very remote, which meant that Feng Wu didn't have to use the manor's front gate. Plus, she found it very convenient. However, as soon as Feng Wu landed on the other side of the wall, 10 very capable-looking guards blocked her way. Every single one of them was more capable than Feng Wu. Miss Wu, my master sends you his invitation. Chapter 324. Who is it? Chapter 324. Who is it? Feng Wu narrowed her eyes in a threatening manner. Who's your master? Her eyes ran over the 10 guards as she spoke. They were almost identical in their height and build, and they stood there ramrod straight with emotionless faces. With one look, she could tell that these men were very well trained. They had the serious and conscientious attitude of soldiers. Miss Wu will know when you get there. The captain, who led the team, beamed at Feng Wu, looking very confident of himself. What if I say no? Feng Wu smirked. Well, this might be a remote corner, but the occasional person can still pass by. I presume that Miss Wu won't like to be spotted like this? The captain said with a smile. Are you threatening me? You're mistaken, Miss Wu. What if I refuse to be threatened? Well, I'm afraid that won't be an option. The captain was way more capable than Feng Wu. Picking her up swiftly, he said, Sorry about this. The world spun before Feng Wu's eyes, and when she realized what was going on, she had been tucked under the captain's arm and was up in the air. Feng Wu. Before Feng Wu could figure out what to do, they had landed outside a grand restaurant. World Tower. Standing outside the restaurant, Feng Wu looked up and saw the vigorous strokes on the shiny golden sign. So grandiloquent and so overweeningly arrogant, thought Feng Wu. It was a 10-story building with cornice brackets that reminded one of the great hawks spreading its wings. The exterior was richly decorated in jade and gold hues, reminding one of how magnificent and luxurious a place this was. This building was as tall as the gates of the Imperial Palace and second only to the watchtower of the Forbidden City. The owner of this place had to be very well connected to build something like this, or they would have been asking for trouble. What was more impressive was that Feng Wu sensed a high concentration of spiritual essence in the air once she stepped into the building. This place was equipped with an essence-gathering formation. The captain led the way, and the rest of the guards walked behind Feng Wu in single file. They walked up the stairs as if they owned the place. Just then, a figure came down from upstairs, and the person darted a look at the team in passing. He spotted Feng Wu right away. Xiao Wu, that person threw himself at Feng Wu like a big butterfly. It was none other than Feng Sun. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. So far, nothing good had ever happened to her when Feng Sun was around. She hoped that today would be an exception. Geez. Feng Sun knew nothing of Feng Wu's silent prayer. He was thrilled to see Feng Wu. Hurtling down the stairs, he ran up to Feng Wu in a hurry. He patted Feng Wu on her slender shoulders in excitement. Hey, little Feng Wu, why are you here? Came to see me? Feng Wu forced a smile. "Huh, you're here. So, you're not here for me? Are you looking for your uncle?" Feng Sun looked enlightened. "My uncle." Feng Wu frowned. With everything that had happened that morning, her uncle was still in the mood to go out and socialize. "That's right. He's up there on 7th heaven. I saw him go there myself just then," Feng Sun said happily. "His capability can only get him as far as 6th heaven, but for your sake, I let him squeeze into the 7th. You can thank me later." Feng Wu frowned. 6th heaven? 7th? I have no idea what you're talking about. World Tower consists of 9 heavens and beyond world, don't you know that? Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. But he soon realized what was going on, and he said to Feng Wu in a commiserative tone, "That's right. You were banished to northern border city before World Tower was built." Chapter 325. Where's my brother? Chapter 325. Where's my brother? Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. "Get to the point," Feng Sun explained in excitement as he followed Feng Wu up the stairs. "The first 9 floors of this building are called 9 heavens, and the higher the floor one wants to visit, the more influential one has to be. The entry level for the bottom floor is a 7th-ranked official or the owner of a medium-scale business." Seeing how excited Feng Sun was, Feng Wu was starting to get a rough idea of who the owner of World Tower was. Take Feng Yin Feng, your uncle, as an example. Someone like him can only go up as high as the 6th floor. Feng Yin Feng could only go as far as the 6th floor. If Feng Wu remembered correctly, her uncle worked in the Ministry of Rites as a ceremonial master and was a 3rd-ranked official in the Imperial capital. But he could go no higher than the 6th floor. Feng Wu shook her head. "You braggart." "I'm not," Feng Sun snapped. "Your uncle is entertaining his guest, the respectful Mr. Yin, up there. He wasn't sure he could get to the 7th floor, so he came to ask me for help. Since he's your uncle, I did him a favor and made an exception for him and gave him access to 7th heaven. Come with me if you don't believe me. I'll take you to him." Feng Sun really showed Feng Wu the 7th floor after that. The corridor of the 7th floor was decorated with peculiar murals, and the first thing Feng Wu noticed was a painting depicting a sudden downpour. "Wait." Feng Wu's eyes flickered. The painting didn't seem special at first glance, but she sensed something on the second. After observing it closely, Feng Wu saw that it wasn't any ordinary rainfall, but a shower of swords. Feng Sun explained to Feng Wu with a gloating smile. Each floor has different menus and different murals. The density of the spiritual essence differs from one floor to the other as well. The customers are strictly stratified here, and that's why everyone tries their best to move up the floors. They arrived outside a private room as they spoke, and they could faintly make out the conversation inside. "You flatter me, Sir Yin. Your daughter is smart and lovely, and she's sure to have a bright future. Here's to your daughter. Sir Yin, of course you're not old. You're 3 years younger than me." Sir Yin, the person's tone was filled with fulsome flattery, but he wasn't doing a very good job at making his ingratiating words convincing enough. That voice belonged to none other than Feng Yin Feng, Feng Wu's uncle. "Sir Yin is my eldest aunt's husband," said Feng Sun. "Your uncle works in the Ministry of Rites, but that's not a very lucrative department and has little real power. So he wants to get transferred to the Ministry of Official Personnel. It just so happens that the post of assistant minister there needs to be filled. Your uncle is the assistant minister of the Ministry of Rites, so giving him that same position in a different ministry is doable, but the Ministry of Official Personnel has always been a popular one, and everyone beats down the door to get it. How about I talk to my uncle for you?" Feng Wu never liked her uncle that much, so she shook her head. "Don't bother." Feng Sun only thought that Feng Wu was being polite, and he chuckled. "My uncle can make it happen, although it'll need some maneuvering. I can always go ask Boss June for help. It'll be a piece of cake for him." "June Lin Yuan?" Feng Wu felt her temper rise at the mention of that name. She declined the offer again with an emotionless tone. "No thanks." Feng Sun tried to be persuasive. "Little Feng Wu, don't be so stubborn. With your dad missing, your uncle is the only one who represents your clan. Your status will rise with him." Feng Sun had little idea of the complicated relationships in the Feng clan. Feng Wu stared at him. Why is my dad missing? Well, how am I supposed to know that? And what about my brother? Feng Wu kept her gaze on Feng Sun. Right. Only then was Feng Sun reminded of Feng Xiaoqi, and he slapped the back of his head. You know what? I still have that thing need to take care of, and off I go. Chapter 326. So, do you want to sit on my lap? Chapter 326. So, do you want to sit on my lap? Feng Sun quickly slipped away after those words. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Feng Sun was so evasive. Had something happened to Xiaoqi? At that thought, she turned to the captain. Take me to Jun Linyuan now. She was sure by now that their master could be no one but Jun Linyuan himself. The captain showed Feng Wu all the way up the stairs. They walked past the 7th, 8th, and 9th floors until they were on the 10th, which was known as Beyond World. The entire 10th floor was empty and spacious. A Bollywood hollowed-out screen stood in the middle and smoke curled up in the air, giving the whole setting a charming atmosphere. Feng Wu saw a graceful, aloof teenager on the other side of the screen. He sat there casually at a tea table. He had finely chiseled features that reminded one of sculpture. Sitting there with his eyes lowered, he looked fairer than the ice on the highest mountain peaks. There was something so elegant and unattainable about him. Even without his noble status and his good looks, one couldn't overlook that quality he possessed. He was silently refusing the approach of any strangers with that unsmiling face. Jun Linyuan. Even Feng Wu was dazed a little when she saw Jun Linyuan sitting there like a classic beauty. Inside the ring, Little Phoenix began to jump around as the tiny abnormal flame in Feng Wu's mind began to stir. Ah, the abnormal flame. The abnormal flame. Feng Wu kept her face straight and acted as if she had heard nothing. Little Phoenix kept on pounding and scratching the wall, and it screeched at the top of its lungs. Kiss him, kiss him, kiss him. Little Phoenix flapped its wings and urged Feng Wu. Feng Wu was speechless. Jun Linyuan raised his head, and he looked as intimidating as ever. He frowned and didn't seem happy to see Feng Wu here. What are you doing here? Feng Wu snapped. Didn't you force me to come here? Jun Linyuan darted a look at the captain of his guards and asked arrogantly, Did you force her? Changsen said sincerely, We didn't. Miss Feng came of her own will. Feng Wu pointed at Jun Linyuan and Changsan. You people. Fine. I'll leave now. Feng Wu then turned to leave. However, Changsan and the others stopped her. The 10 guards stood in a line, blocking her way. Feng Wu was vexed. Turning around, she glared at Jun Linyuan. I thought I wasn't welcome here. Why are you stopping me from leaving? The crown prince replied with a casual smile on his face. You're here, aren't you? You have my permission to sit. I don't need your permission, and I'm not sitting on a chair. Feng Wu thought she was going to explode. So, are you dreaming about sitting on my lap? Jun Linyuan turned his brooding gaze on her, making her stomach lurch. Feng Wu. For a split second, Feng Wu suspected that Jun Linyuan was flirting with her rather than ridiculing her. However, she rejected that possibility right away. Jun Linyuan abhorred her, so there was no way that he would flirt with her. He had to be mocking her. Feng Wu took a deep breath to calm down. She realized that Jun Linyuan was the only one that could set her off this easily. The most casual comment he made could make her go off like a dynamite. Feng Wu glowered at Jun Linyuan. Where's Xiaoqi? The crown prince gestured at her to come closer with his slender fingers. Feng Wu ignored him. Jun Linyuan kept his gaze on her, looking as if he had all the time in the world. Since she was in need of an answer, Feng Wu decided to compromise. She went up to Jun Linyuan, looking very grumpy. Chapter 327 Kiss. 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 Chapter 327 Kiss. 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 With a glance at the crown prince, Changsan and the others left the room as quiet as cats, and they even closed the door behind them. Where's Xiaoqi? What have you done to him? Feng Wu met Jun Linyuan's gaze, and her eyes flickered, as if they were emitting heat. Jun Linyuan gestured at his lap. What? Feng Wu looked at him in confusion. Jun Linyuan darted her a lofty look. Get up here yourself. Feng Wu. She stared at Jun Linyuan in astonishment, looking like a bristling bird. She bit her lower lip so hard that it almost bled. Feng Wu clenched her fists in rage. Jun Linyuan, this is ridiculous. The teenage crown prince felt like a different person from what she knew before. He had been this aloof, detached, and cold person for as long as she could remember. But now, there was something mesmerizing in his eyes, and she could almost call him enchanting. I thought you wanted to know if Feng Xiaoqi is still alive. His casual tone made Feng Wu's heart pound, and her body went stiff. That can't be. You took Xiaoqi away only for his blood. How can he be dead? Unless. Feng Wu's pupils contracted, and she glowered at Jun Linyuan with eyes that could spit fire. Did you turn him into a walking dead blood container? Jun Linyuan seemed to have made up his mind not to say a word. I don't believe you. Feng Wu turned to leave, but she realized that she couldn't pull the door open. Frustrated, she ran to the window, trying to climb out from there. However, it was as tightly shut as the door, and it wouldn't budge no matter how hard she tried. Feng Wu then pounded the wall, but the wood it was made from was harder than iron. Turning around, Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. Jun Linyuan then waved his hand, and Feng Wu flew toward him despite herself. Before she realized it, she was in Jun Linyuan's arms. Jun Linyuan chuckled, and his eyes twinkled. His face was so close to hers. Feng Wu raised a hand, trying to slap him. However, his strong hand caught hers before she could touch him. Infuriated, Feng Wu drew out a dagger with her free right hand and stabbed at Jun Linyuan's heart. Thud! The dagger fell to the floor, and both of Feng Wu's arms were pinned behind her back. He was very close. She could smell his minty breath on her face. The teenage girl had a soft, tempting body, and her pink lips looked as sweet as honey. He was tempted to taste them. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Little Phoenix had been following the proceedings this whole time, and it was going through a tumult of emotions. Right now, it flapped its wings and shook in excitement. Kiss him, and the abnormal flame would be complete. It would be able to get out. Where's Xiaoqi? Feng Wu looked at Jun Linyuan coldly. The crown prince smiled a little. I would have told you if you had sat on my lap willingly just then. Jun Linyuan had never been a fan of restraining himself. He always followed his heart. On his way back to the Imperial capital, he had made a mental note. If he still couldn't stop thinking about her after a month, he would never let her go. Today was the last day of that 1-month period, and he couldn't wait to see Feng Wu. He always did what he wanted. Feng Wu was practically fuming. What happened to that proud, unattainable crown prince? This person in front of her here was acting like the biggest jerk. Chapter 328, The Difficult Woman. Chapter 328, The Difficult Woman. What do you want? Feng Wu clenched her fists and bit her lip. Jun Linyuan's husky voice had a mesmerizing quality to it. Kiss me, and I'll tell you. You wish, Feng Wu said between gritted teeth. The guy didn't even like her, and he was doing this just to humiliate her. How abominable. However, Jun Linyuan's mouth was on hers before she could react. Blood rushed into Feng Wu's head, her back stiffened, and her head went blank. She felt as if fire was burning through her body. As soon as their lips touched, Feng Wu bit his lower lip. Blood oozed out, and the taste filled their mouths. Feng Wu was stunned. She had just bitten Jun Linyuan. We kill her now. Feng Wu had once seen with her own eyes a magical bird peck Jun Linyuan's finger. The next second, the bird had been squeezed to a pulp. She had only been 5 years old then. Therefore, she had always remembered Jun Linyuan as this bloodthirsty, savage man. Feng Wu looked up and glared at Jun Linyuan involuntarily, her eyes as alert as a lone wolf's. As expected, she saw surprise in Jun Linyuan's eyes. Jun Lin Yuan was indeed baffled. Wasn't this girl supposed to be hopelessly in love with him? Since she wouldn't come to him, he had taken the initiative instead, but it seemed that she had gotten used to turning him down. Playing hard to get. Jun Lin Yuan snickered and pinned Feng Wu's arms behind her back again. He said with a smirk, "Are you having fun?" Feng Wu almost fainted from anger. What was he talking about? Why did Jun Lin Yuan and Feng Sun believe in the same thing? That she was head over heels in love with the crown prince. Feng Wu almost broke into tears, but she fought them back stubbornly. The slim teenage girl had skin fairer than snow. Her long eyelashes were damp, but she wouldn't let any tears fall. Feng Wu had a beautiful mother, who was indisputably the most beautiful lady in the entire Junwu Empire. A look of pity flickered in Jun Lin Yuan's brooding eyes, something he didn't even realize himself. He then caressed Feng Wu's smooth cheek with his calloused fingertips. His fingers seemed to set her on fire wherever they touched. Feng Wu trembled inside out. Her eyes had gone red from crying, but she kept her gaze on him stubbornly. The 13-year-old girl reminded him of a young lion. Jun Lin Yuan sympathized with her as well as felt amused. He chuckled. "You can't stand the least bit injustice, can you?" Feng Wu gritted her teeth. "I just find it strange, and there's something I need to ask you." "Shoot." Feng Wu smirked. "Jun Lin Yuan, didn't you say yourself that I should mind my status and stay away from you? Why did you seek me out, and why are you acting all flirty? This is not like you at all. What exactly do you want?" She believed that one should know their enemy as well as they knew themselves. "You want to know? Tell me." Feng Wu scowled. Jun Lin Yuan looked very arrogant as he said in a conceited tone, "Because you like me so much, I thought I would play nice and give you this chance, but you bit me. TSK, TSK. Feng Wu was going to tell him to go to hell with his chance when Jun Lin Yuan held her puffed cheeks between his hands and stressed each word. "You difficult woman. This is a great honor I'm offering you here." Chapter 329, Bao Er's Cat. Chapter 329, Bao Er's Cat. Feng Wu thought she was going to have stroke. "I don't need it." "Too late. I was never in love with you. Keep lying and you'll never see Feng Xiaoqi again." "Feng Wu, I'm a medicine refiner." Feng Wu looked at Jun Lin Yuan earnestly, her eyes sparkling. "I can help you with Bao Er's illness, but you have to give me back my brother." "No." "Jun Lin Yuan, you have Bao Er already. Why won't you leave me alone? You should be loyal to her. You're betraying her love." Feng Wu clenched her fists in anger. Jun Lin Yuan gave Feng Wu an ineffable look, as if he had just heard something idiotic. "Was it something I said?" Feng Wu was baffled. Jun Lin Yuan's eyes looked like bottomless pools. He rose to his feet all of a sudden, and Feng Wu was back on her feet. Instinctively, she stumbled back until she was several meters away from Jun Lin Yuan. She then stood there, on high alert. Jun Lin Yuan walked out of the room without giving her another look. So, this Bao Er was really a taboo subject that couldn't be mentioned at all? So much so that he would storm off at the sound of the name. If that was the case, that girl would also be his soft spot, which meant that it would be something Feng Wu could take advantage of. Jun Lin Yuan wasn't that unassailable teenager anymore. "What are you thinking?" Jun Lin Yuan halted and turned around to look at Feng Wu. The sun shone behind him, throwing his face into sharp relief. In that glow, his face looked even more enchanting. "Come here." Jun Lin Yuan beckoned at Feng Wu, as if he was summoning a pet. Feng Wu decided to ignore him. Jun Lin Yuan snickered. "Do I have to do everything myself?" Only then did Feng Wu remember Jun Lin Yuan's ability to draw her toward him from a distance away. Feng Wu dashed to his side as soon as he raised an arm, and she looked up at him with her limpid eyes. "I can walk myself." She reminded him so much of Bao Er's cat, an adorable but stubborn little thing. Jun Lin Yuan put his big hand on Feng Wu's head. She was still a child, and her head barely reached his shoulders. She had just a hint of childish roundness left around her chin, which made her face as plump as a steamed bun, tempting him to give it a bite. The crown prince never stretched himself thin. He had reacted clumsily to his feelings only because he had never felt this way before. And he was a very quick learner. Taking Feng Wu's delicate chin between his fingers, he bent down and aimed his mouth at her plump cheek. Feng Wu was furious. What was wrong with this man? Was she some kind of food now? Not only did he kiss her, he had to suck her cheek as if he was eating some succulent thing. Feng Wu stomped down on Jun Linyuan's foot. She was wearing lambskin boots that day with solid heels, and she spared no effort. However, Jun Linyuan wasn't that easily defeated. With a flip of his foot, he tripped Feng Wu, and the girl fell toward him. The crown prince gave her a mesmerizing smile. Despite what you say, your body is very honest. Feng Wu almost choked on her own spit. The next thing she knew, Jun Linyuan had thrown her over his shoulder and marched out of the room. Put me down. Put me down. Jun Linyuan carried Feng Wu over one shoulder, and her head hung down behind his back. He steadied her by putting a hand on her buttocks as he walked down the stairs. Outside the door, 10 guards stood there waiting in a line. Chong San, the captain, was dumbfounded when he saw the crown prince carry Miss Wu out that way. Chapter 330. Finally, a girl for His Royal Highness. Chapter 330. Finally, a girl for His Royal Highness. Their crown prince was known to be a neat freak, had no interest in girls, and was lofty, intimidating, and not approachable at all. However, he had a girl over his shoulder now, and that girl didn't seem to want to be there. She was flailing both arms as if she was drowning while yelling, "Let go of me." Chong San thought that he was hallucinating. He rubbed his eyes, but nothing changed. Grabbing one of his men, he pinched the guy on the arm. "SSSS. Captain, that hurts." The guy almost broke into tears. "So I'm not dreaming. Oh God." Chong San came back to himself and followed his master in a hurry. Feng Wu's eyes were bloodshot red from her rage. What the hell was this guy doing? If the others saw her like this, it would be the end of her. "Your Royal Highness." When they reached the 7th floor, the customers inside had just come out after their meal and spotted Jun Linyuan. That voice! Feng Wu stiffened. It was none other than Feng Yanfeng, her uncle. Why did it have to be him? Feng Wu buried her face in Jun Linyuan's back. Feng Yanfeng, who was so condescending in front of Feng Wu, was too nervous to even breathe when Jun Linyuan was around. Even Sir Yin, the minister of both the Grand Council and the Ministry of Official Personnel, seemed perturbed when he first saw Jun Linyuan. "Your Royal Highness." The politician, whom Feng Yanfeng considered a mogul, bowed to Jun Linyuan and put on a warm smile. Jun Linyuan ignored Feng Yanfeng completely, but only gave Sir Yin a brief glance. The overbearing air he gave off immediately flustered the others. Feng Wu was awfully quiet now, for she didn't want to draw any attention. If her uncle found out about her relationship with Jun Linyuan, all hell would break loose. Jun Linyuan marched off with Feng Wu hanging over his shoulder, followed by the solemn-faced Chong San. "Master Chong San, His Royal Highness is..." Feng Yanfeng was too intimidated to speak around Jun Linyuan and even addressed the captain of the guard as Master Chong San. Officially, Chong San was a military officer of junior 3rd rank, while Feng Yanfeng was a senior 3rd-ranked official. Feng Yanfeng was slightly senior in terms of their ranking, and he didn't have to address the captain with that respectful term. But Chong San was Jun Linyuan's personal guard, and no one would want to mess with someone in that position. Even Sir Yin cupped his hands politely at Chong San. "General Chong, who was that young lady?" Chong San was a tame cat in front of Jun Linyuan, but he was all distant and solemn to the other officials. "I wouldn't recommend meddling in His Royal Highness's personal affairs. I think my lords know what His Royal Highness is like." After that, Chong San left with the guards. Would anyone accuse Chong San of being disrespectful? Who would be bold enough to do that? Stroking his goatee, Sir Yin narrowed his eyes, the look on his face indecipherable. Feng Yanfeng looked shaken. His Royal Highness is finally into girls. A lot of families will become very excited. Yin Shifan darted a glance at Feng Yanfeng. "Why, Master Feng, are you jealous? Of course not. You flatter me. Feng Yinfeng waved his hands, looking flustered. Yin Shifan gave Feng Yinfeng a strange look. His Royal Highness used to be betrothed to one of your girls back then, and you were so close to becoming a relative of the Crown Prince. Chapter 331. How about making Xiao Wu the Crown Prince's concubine? Chapter 331. How about making Xiao Wu the Crown Prince's concubine? That was exactly what Feng Yinfeng had been lamenting. He had never hated Feng Wu so much. The royal family would never have broken off the engagement if she hadn't become crippled. And if that hadn't happened, the Feng clan wouldn't have declined so significantly until it lost its status as one of the 9 major clans and become one of the nobodies. I was told that the crippled girl of your clan has come back to the Imperial capital. Yin asked in passing. Sir Yin, you know about that as well. Yin gave him a half-smile. After all, she was engaged to His Royal Highness once, and she'll always get unwanted attention for it. Poor kid. I can't imagine what family would want her as a daughter-in-law. Feng Yinfeng couldn't get those words out of his head on his way back home. No family would want Feng Wu as their daughter-in-law. Who would dare marry a girl who had been the Crown Prince's fiancée once? Flying snow building. Lady Wang had calmed down since talking to Feng Wu, and her head had spun the entire afternoon. She was trying to figure out a way to get rid of Feng Wu without raising an alarm. She set that task aside when Feng Yinfeng came back. Feng Yinfeng had taken several concubines over the years, but thanks to her perfect superficial charms, Lady Wang had never fallen out of favor. Seeing that Feng Yinfeng was frowning, she asked, My lord, what's bothering you? Feng Yinfeng sighed. I met the Crown Prince today. Lady Wang's eyes lit up. Had her husband somehow gotten into the Crown Prince's circle? Feng Yinfeng said, I saw with my own eyes His Royal Highness come out with a girl hanging over his shoulder. After all these years, this is the first time the Crown Prince has shown up with a girl. It's finally the time. Lady Wang nodded. I see. Well, he's 18 now. Feng Yinfeng sighed. Xiao Wu is without cultivation and crippled now, not to mention that His Royal Highness has canceled their engagement. I can't imagine that anyone would want to marry her. Lady Wang laughed inwardly. It was a great pleasure for her to see Feng Wu in dire straits. So, here's what I've been thinking. How about we give Xiao Wu to His Royal Highness as a concubine? Feng Yinfeng asked. I'm not being boastful, but Xiao Wu is really a good-looking girl. If she puts her mind to it, there's no reason that His Royal Highness wouldn't like her. Lady Wang's heart sank. Even as a woman, Lady Wang had to admit that Feng Wu was a rare beauty, which was why she would never let Feng Wu go to court. She and Feng Wu had shed all pretense of cordiality, and once Feng Wu was in the Crown Prince's good graces, she might give some thought to helping the Feng clan, but Lady Wang was sure that the girl wouldn't even blink before ruining her. A murderous look flickered in Lady Wang's eyes, but she still beamed at Feng Yinfeng. My lord, I'm not sure that would be appropriate. Why? Feng Yinfeng's eyes widened. If His Royal Highness really likes Xiao Wu, I won't have to beg around for a same-level transfer from the Ministry of Rights to the Ministry of Official Personnel. His Royal Highness can make it happen with a flick of his finger. What do you have to lose if His Royal Highness doesn't like her? She's an abandoned pawn anyway. Having dealt with Feng Wu herself, Lady Wang knew how tough an enemy Feng Wu was, and she wasn't going to give Feng Wu more opportunities. However, Feng Yinfeng was really stubborn at the moment. Trying to persuade him would only push him further away from Lady Wang. The longer he thought about it, the more excited Feng Yinfeng became. He smacked the table and rose to his feet. You know what? I need to tell Xiao Wu this great news now. Oh, and start working on Xiao Wu's new clothes and jewelry. Feng Yinfeng hurried off after that. Chapter 332. That's biting, not kissing. Chapter 332. That's biting, not kissing. Lady Wang almost snapped as she watched her husband hurry off. Was he in a rush to tell Feng Wu, or was he too eager to see someone else? Meanwhile, Feng Wu was hanging over Jun Linyuan's shoulder. An excited voice was ringing in her head. It was little Phoenix who was shouting at her. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? What? Feng Wu was bewildered and replied in her head. Little Phoenix was squeaking in excitement. That man that showed up just then, he had something spectacular on him. So, Feng Wu wasn't very interested. It was one of the key pieces to waking up your master. Do you want to save him or not? What? Feng Wu almost jumped to her feet. Yes. Yes, I do. Feng Wu got carried away and cried out loudly. By now, Jun Linyuan had stuffed Feng Wu into the carriage and was bending down toward her when Feng Wu cried out, I do. Jun Linyuan smirked and caressed Feng Wu's smooth cheek with his calloused fingertips, his voice husky. You do. Feng Wu was startled by Jun Linyuan's hot breath on her cheeks. When she came back to herself, she realized that Jun Linyuan was way too close. His face was right in front of hers, to the point that she could accidentally kiss him. Kiss him. Kiss. Now. Little Phoenix squeaked. It would be shoving on the back of Feng Wu's head if it was outside now. However, Feng Wu pushed Jun Linyuan away and dashed diagonally to the corner on the other side of the carriage. It was as far away as she could get inside this carriage. Little Phoenix felt like crying. Gosh, it's not like you haven't kissed him before. You've done it 3 times already. What difference will it make to do it again? Little Phoenix cried out. Kiss him, and I can get out of here. I'll be able to protect you and fly you around. Just kiss him. I'm begging you. Feng Wu pursed her lips and shook her head repeatedly. He kissed me just then in Beyond World. Why are you still not out? Jeez. You call that a kiss? You were biting him. Your tongue has to touch his to lure that abnormal flame to your side when his guard is down. Pull yourself together. Feng Wu wanted to cry. She didn't want to pull anything. Jun Linyuan raised his thick, straight eyebrows and stared at Feng Wu with his brooding eyes. He then smiled and beckoned at Feng Wu with a finger. Get over here. No. Feng Wu held onto the wall of the carriage and refused adamantly. I'll go to you then. Jun Linyuan rose to his feet. Seeing this, Feng Wu turned around and tried to jump out of the carriage. However, she didn't stand a chance when Jun Linyuan was around. No one knew what happened, but before Feng Wu realized it, she was lying flat on her back. The next second, Jun Linyuan fell on top of her. Feng Wu grunted and grabbed onto Jun Linyuan's arms involuntarily. His impeccable face was right in front of her. His straight eyebrows were full and dark. His eyelashes were dense and curly. His bright eyes were mesmerizing, and right now, they were staring at her, which reminded her of a cheetah looking at its prey. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Little Phoenix had lost hope already. It was venting its grudges inwardly about how cowardly its master was, when the Crown Prince took the initiative and pinned Feng Wu down. Kiss, kiss, kiss. Little Phoenix hooted like a cheerleader. You tripped me on purpose. Jun Linyuan blamed his victim first. Feng Wu blinked. How she missed that old Jun Linyuan, who was aloof, detached, and treated her as if she didn't exist. Chapter 333, Feng Wu, You Wild Thing. Chapter 333, Feng Wu, You Wild Thing. Jun Linyuan's stunning face moved closer and closer, and Feng Wu could feel his hot breath on her face. Their lips almost touched when Feng Wu put her hand over her mouth, and Jun Linyuan's lips landed on the back of her hand. The skin on her hand was so fair that her fingertips seemed transparent. He had an impulse to take them into his mouth. Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. He had completely overpowered her, and there was nothing she could do about it. It was more than the difference in physical strength between men and women, but the demonstration of the chasm between their capabilities. Feng Wu had never hated Zhuoqing Luan like she did now. She had been at the same cultivation level as Jun Linyuan back then. Had it not been for Zhuoqing Luan, who had destroyed Feng Wu's true phoenix blood, Feng Wu would never be this helpless. The thought frustrated Feng Wu greatly, and she glared at Jun Linyuan with her limpid bright eyes. The teenage girl was an unparalleled beauty to begin with. Right now, her flushed cheeks and the aggrieved look on her face could soften the toughest heart. Jun Linyuan's slender fingers moved into action, and he began to undo Feng Wu's clothes. Feng Wu's back stiffened right away. Angry and scared, she caught Jun Linyuan's hands involuntarily and cried out, "Jun Linyuan, what do you think?" Before she could finish her sentence, Jun Linyuan had lowered his head and covered her mouth with his. Feng Wu's eyes widened and her pupils contracted. It was a distraction. Jun Linyuan was so evil. How could he do that? Feng Wu was almost in tears, and the rims of her eyes turned red. However, Little Phoenix was flailing its wings in the ring frantically as it prompted Feng Wu. "It's already happening, so make full use of it. Otherwise, you'll be wasting the opportunity." Feng Wu could no longer think straight. Blood rushed to her head, and she was overwhelmed with her rage. He was kissing her anyway, so the hell with it. She would make something out of it. At that thought, Feng Wu put a slim arm around Jun Linyuan's neck and pressed the back of his head down with the other hand. She pulled Jun Linyuan down toward her with all her strength. If this was a contest, she wasn't going to let him win. No longer holding herself back, Feng Wu wrapped herself around Jun Linyuan and gnawed on his mouth. Jun Linyuan stiffened and blood rushed to his head. He had never seen Feng Wu as wild as this, and it was, well, a pleasant surprise. Jun Linyuan gloated after the initial shock. Feng Sun was right. Little Feng Wu was crazy about him. Despite her repeated refusals, her body had betrayed her. Somewhere deep in Feng Wu's mind, where Jun Linyuan couldn't see. Kiss him. Yes. 50% now. 55%. 60%. Yes. Almost there. Just a little bit longer. Hold on there and keep breathing. Yes, breathe in. Little Phoenix was so nervous and excited at the same time. Soon, that little flame in Feng Wu's mind was going to grow into a complete abnormal flame, and with that, Little Phoenix would be able to leave this place, ha ha ha. This was so unnerving. Little Phoenix's heart pounded, fearing that something would happen to intrude on them. 80%, 85%, 90%. Little Phoenix's exhilarated voice kept ringing in Feng Wu's head. Chapter 334. Feng Wu was so crazy about him. Chapter 334. Feng Wu was so crazy about him. Feng Wu was trembling all over. She was completely absorbed in the kiss and had forgotten all about herself and where she was. All she knew was that she had to keep sucking that fire out of Jun Linyuan, and she wouldn't let go of his tongue. Jun Linyuan tried to stop several times, but Feng Wu wouldn't allow it. Before they realized it, Feng Wu was on the top and straddling Jun Linyuan. The Crown Prince was completely baffled. He knew that Feng Wu liked him, but he had no idea that Feng Wu was so crazy about him. It was as if she wanted to eat him whole. How wild! 97%, 98%, 99%, 100%. As soon as Little Phoenix cried out that last syllable, Feng Wu felt as if a fireball had exploded in her head. Rumble. Feng Wu, who had lost herself in the kiss, slumped back all of a sudden. She let go of Jun Linyuan and almost fell over. The Crown Prince was going to taunt Feng Wu, but he immediately realized that something wasn't right. Feng Wu. Little Feng Wu. Wake up. Feng Wu lay still on the floor with her eyes shut and her face pale. She was barely breathing. The Crown Prince, who had always been able to keep his composure no matter what, was flustered for the first time. Lifting the curtain of his carriage, he cried out, "We're going back. Now." Chang San was the one driving the carriage. He was deeply perturbed by the fear in the Crown Prince's voice. Fear? The Crown Prince that could terrorize his victims with just the sound of his name was actually capable of expressing fear? Chang San couldn't imagine it. He had only just been able to turn the horses around when he felt the carriage become lighter. Looking back, he saw that Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu were no longer inside. "Your Royal Highness." Chongxin cried out in surprise. However, with Feng Wu in his arms, Jun Linyuan had already jumped onto the roof. The streets of the imperial capital were planned in such a way that they all led in one direction. The eastern main street could lead one straight to the Forbidden City. Right now, a figure skimmed over the roofs along the eastern main road at lightning speed, so fast that those who spotted it thought that they were hallucinating. Jun Linyuan had wrapped Feng Wu in his thick cape as he ran along the edges of the roofs, so as to keep her from the cold rain. The royal palace, the Bureau of Physicians. It was safe to say that the best medicine refiners of all in the imperial capital, if not the entire Junwu Empire, worked here. The most junior ones here were senior medicine refiners, and the majority were of the master level. As for the head of the bureau, he was a master refiner. Right now, the medicine refiners were discussing the Empress Dowager's malady. Her Majesty caught a cold, that's all. You're overdoing it with your prescription. Master Bai frowned. A cold? That's just the superficial symptoms. Her Majesty has long been suffering from a hidden disease that this cold is going to set off. If I've guessed correctly, a series of symptoms will follow. Master He frowned. The heated discussion continued when, bang, someone kicked the door hard. The bureau was a well-equipped institute, but the thick door plate came off at that kick. Who is that? How dare you act wildly in this place? Do you have a death wish? However, they saw the crown prince when they turned to look. He stood there like a fiend, giving off a bone-chilling air. WEF. Everyone blanched, especially Masters Bai and He, who had scolded the intruder. Both fell to their knees. Chapter 335, Jun Linyuan the Bully. Chapter 335, Jun Linyuan the Bully. Your Royal Highness. Fear of Jun Linyuan had never stemmed from his prestigious status, but his unfathomable capability, his intimidating demeanor, and his unpredictable temper. Bathed in light from behind, Jun Linyuan looked stunning. He stood there towering over the others in his luxurious cape. In his arms, Feng Wu looked as tiny as a child. Master Chu, Jun Linyuan called out in an authoritative tone and scanned the room with his piercing eyes. The look on his face was resolute and emotionless. Right now, no one could tell how frightened he actually was, for they were all too scared to even look up at him. Master Bai smiled bitterly. They would rather treat the emperor himself than the terrifying crown prince. However, as the most senior medicine refiner in the room, Master Bai had no choice but to force himself to step out. Your Royal Highness, to what do we owe this pleasure? Get me Chu Bai. You can all start looking for new jobs if he's not here in 15 minutes. It was very rare for the reticent Jun Linyuan to say that much in one sentence. However, to the others, the words were like bullets hitting their chests. Master Bai and the others grimaced. Medicine refiners were supposed to enjoy a higher status than cultivators. However, even Master Chu, their head, had to bend to the crown prince's will. Of course, I'll go get Master Chu now. Master Bai rushed out, fleeing from the crown prince's piercing gaze. The rest of the medicine refiners tried to excuse themselves from the room as well when Jun Linyuan pointed at Master He. You come here. Treat her. Master He's forehead was covered with sweat. It was too late to run away now, and his only option was to do as told. Your Royal Highness, please lay the young lady on the bed so that I can feel her pulse. You can't do it when I'm carrying her. Jun Linyuan darted a grim look at Master He. Yes, of course I can. Master He shuddered and stood at attention. The others exchanged looks of bewilderment. Who on earth was this young woman, whose face was buried in the crown prince's cape? Didn't the crown prince hate it when other women touched him? But he was willing to go through all this trouble now, just for her. Immediately, everyone was intrigued by this girl half hidden in the cape, but they kept their curiosity to themselves and would only steal glances at her out of the corners of their eyes. Master Bai ran as fast as he could. Meanwhile, Master Chu was treating his patient elsewhere. Congratulations, Your Majesty. You're with child, Master Chu said in an impassive voice. The Empress, on the other hand, burst into joyful tears. I'm pregnant. I'm giving the Emperor a son. Mother, please don't get too excited. We need to watch out for your mood now. A pretty teenage girl with rosy lips and white teeth stood beside Empress Gao. She was the third daughter of the Emperor. The princess had always been a willful girl, but now she was all smiles and kind-looking, which was very rare for her. Just then, Empress Gao's servant hurried in. Your Majesty, Master Bai is outside. Before he could finish, Master Bai had rushed into the room like a gust of wind. He grabbed Master Chu by the arm and dragged the latter away, yelling, Master Chu, hurry up. The Crown Prince is tearing the bureau apart. Master Chu's unperturbed face turned grim right away. His Royal Highness. Yes, that's right. His Royal Highness is angry, and there will be consequences. Come quickly. Master Bai was almost in tears. The Crown Prince was a man of his word, especially when it came to the promises he made. His words were sometimes more credible than an imperial edict. He wasn't joking about taking the bureau apart. Chapter 336. It's driving little Phoenix crazy. Chapter 336. It's driving little Phoenix crazy. Master Chu knew too well to defy the Crown Prince's order. He didn't even ask for permission to leave before dashing out. Come quickly. Master Bai and Master Chu were out of sight in the blink of an eye, leaving Empress Gao and the princess behind, who eyed each other in bewilderment. The excited look on Empress Gao's face was immediately replaced by rage. Jun Linyuan, him again. Empress Gao clenched her fists so tightly that her fingernails dug into her palms. Was he born into this world just to annoy me? The princess was equally infuriated. He's doing it on purpose. I'm sure of it. He took the Imperial physician away as soon as he heard about your pregnancy. Mother, he's abominable. However, talking about Jun Linyuan behind his back was all that third princess was bold enough to do. She was like a kitten when the Crown Prince was around. What on earth is going on? Empress Gao darted a piercing look at the chief steward. The chief steward replied with a bow. According to Master Bai, His Royal Highness arrived at the Bureau of Physicians with a young woman. A young woman? The princess's pupils contracted and she rose to her feet. I'll go have a look. Master Chu ran as fast as he could and was finally able to reach the bureau within the time limit. Your Royal Highness. He was still panting when Jun Linyuan glanced at him with his emotionless eyes. Need some rest? No, of course not. 1 minute. I'll be right there. Master Chu wouldn't act so timidly even around the Emperor himself. However, one cold look from Jun Linyuan and he felt frozen to the core. How could anyone say no to this teenager? After taking a deep breath to calm himself down, Master Chu felt Feng Wu's pulse. His eyebrows knitted tighter and tighter. What do you see? Jun Linyuan's eyes seemed to spit fire, and Master Chu feared that the Crown Prince would explode as soon as he said something the latter didn't like. Avoiding Jun Linyuan's eyes and keeping his gaze on the latter's nose, Master Chu said, "The young lady has a fire poison in her head, and it's spreading. If we don't do something to stop it, I'm afraid." What? Little poisonous arrows were shooting out of the Crown Prince's eyes now. Despite how flustered he was, Master Chu managed to finish the sentence. If we let the fire poison spread, even if the young lady can survive it, she'll become a retard. The next second, a pair of strong hands wrapped around Master Chu's neck and a cold voice rang out. Anything happens to her, you're all going down with her. I'm not going to repeat it. And the Crown Prince always meant what he said. Everyone knew that, which was why all the physicians in the room dropped to their knees. They wanted to cry, but no tears would come. Even His Majesty wouldn't have such scarce regard for human life. The thought of going to His Majesty for help crossed their minds, but they then remembered that when the Crown Prince was enraged, even the Emperor himself would back off. For a moment, everyone despaired. Master Chu said in a hurry, "I can do it. I can. We'll just eradicate the fire poison." "Do it," the Crown Prince said with an impassive face. Poor Feng Wu. She had passed out and had no idea what they were going to do to her hard-earned achievement. The eradication of the fire poison needed to be carried out with great care. Little Phoenix thought that it was going to lose its mind. After everything Foam Wu had done at the cost of using herself as bait, they were finally able to get enough of that external energy to complete the little abnormal flame. Little Phoenix was going to consume that abnormal flame when it realized in frustration that someone was trying to take it away. Chapter 337. Why is life so hard? Chapter 337. Why is life so hard? Taking the flame away? Not in a million years. Little Phoenix turned the abnormal flame into the shape of a rope and wrapped it around itself. It held tightly onto the rope and wouldn't let go no matter what. Master Chu's forehead was covered with sweat. His face went pale, and he had a bitter taste in his mouth. Jun Linyuan stared at him grimly. "Can you do or not?" Master Chu was almost in tears, and he said in a trembling voice, "Your Royal Highness, there's something strange about the fire poison. It seems to have taken root, and I can't get it out." He was able to loosen it a little at first, but soon it was like having a tug of war. He couldn't pull out no matter how hard he tried. After asking Master Chu exactly what he had to do to remove the poison, Jun Linyuan put a palm on Foam Wu's forehead. No one had any idea how he did it, but when he lifted his hand away from her forehead, there was a string of golden flame between his index and middle fingers. Master Chu waved his fists in excitement. Yes, that's it. That's the fire poison." Meanwhile, Little Phoenix was almost in tears. It had no idea what was happening, but it couldn't stop spinning as the rope of flame was drawn away. It felt like an unraveled sweater. The spinning made the bird nauseated, but there was nothing it could do. That formidable power took control of the flame, and it went on spinning. What a frightening teenager. How terrifying his power was. He was able to penetrate Foam Wu's mind and take control of the flame. Little Phoenix wasn't Jun Linyuan's match at all, and the flame disappeared completely in a matter of seconds. My abnormal flame. Little Phoenix was really in tears now. It had no idea why life was so hard. It was supposed to have that first abnormal flame after the volcano erupted, but Foam Tutu and Jun Rex ended up taking it. Then it had managed to gather enough pieces to put together this abnormal flame, but somehow it was sabotaged again. Thud. Little Phoenix passed out from all the grievances. Jun Linyuan looked surprised when he took the fire poison out. Wasn't that flame his own fire energy? How come it was in Foam Wu's head? He didn't think much of it, but only needed the string into a ball. The fire poison is eradicated, and the young lady should wake up in 2 hours. Master Chu wiped the sweat off his forehead and heaved a sigh of relief. He felt as if he had just narrowly escaped death. Jun Linyuan darted one last look at him before turning to leave, carrying Foam Wu in his arms. Master Chu and the others were all so relieved to see him leave. However, right at that moment, "Brother," a sweet voice rang out, and third princess walked into the room. Smiling brightly, she kept her gaze on Foam Wu. "Brother, why are you here in the Bureau of Physicians? Who is this young lady? Do I know her?" "What?" Jun Linyuan didn't even look at her. Still holding Foam Wu, he walked out of the bureau and disappeared out of sight in no time. The princess, the most favored daughter of the emperor, had been completely ignored. That was Jun Linyuan's most honest response. The princess's face turned livid, and she felt utterly humiliated. "What are you all looking at?" Infuriated, the princess vented on the physicians of the bureau. They were lambs around Jun Linyuan, but the princess was a different story. Especially Master Chu, who needed to vent his anger somewhere, and the princess seemed the perfect target. Chapter 338. How can he do that? Chapter 338. How can he do that? Master Chu smirked. "Very impressive, Your Royal Highness. I see that ma'am won't need our assistance from now on. Master Chu spoke in a taunting voice. Physicians were quite prestigious figures in court, and even as the favorite daughter of the emperor, the princess wouldn't be able to justify her attitude if the emperor asked about this incident. Master Chu wasn't the only one. The rest of the physicians all threw dirty looks at the princess. Other people might be intimidated by her, but not the Bureau of Physicians. You people, how dare you talk to me like that? Feeling aggrieved, the princess stomped her foot and ran away, crying. Master Bai spat on the floor. Does she think she's the same as the crown prince? Jun Linyuan had a hall of his own in the royal palace, as well as an individual residence outside. The crown prince was supposed to live in the palace and not move out like the other princes, even if he was old enough. However, the name Jun Linyuan meant that he wasn't going to be treated like everyone else. Others lived by the rules. As for him, well, rules didn't apply to him. Hence, the crown prince had a manor outside, and it was where he usually stayed. Feng Wu opened her eyes as soon as Jun Linyuan put her down on the bed. Actually, Feng Wu was woken up by little Phoenix's cries. Poor little bird. It had been looking forward to this day, and when it finally happened, that little abnormal flame was recognized as fire poison and was removed. Just like that. Wah! Little Phoenix sat on the ground, kicked around, and cried at the top of its lungs in Feng Wu's mind. The sound was ear-splitting. It gave Feng Wu a headache, and she had a hard time focusing. You're awake. Night had set in, and the room was lit up by candles. In the dim light, Jun Linyuan's stunning face looked unbelievably attractive. Feng Wu stared at Jun Linyuan, confused. Her bright eyes looked almost glassy. For right now, little Phoenix was venting its grievances in her head. How could he do that? How could he? Little Phoenix rolled around in frustration and curled into a ball. It pounded the floor as it cried. I was so close to consuming it. So close. He then took it away from me. He took it. Little Phoenix didn't try to keep its voice down at all. To Feng Wu, it was as loud as rumbling thunder. What? Feng Wu was genuinely baffled after she learned what had happened. They had removed it. After everything she had done, she had kissed Jun Linyuan for it. For Christ's sake, they had removed that abnormal flame from her mind. Feng Wu was wide awake, and she bolted upright. Thud! Jun Linyuan was bending over when Feng Wu sat up, and her smooth forehead smashed into Jun Linyuan's nose. Anyone else would have covered their nose and cried out in pain. However, Jun Linyuan acted as if nothing happened. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was disoriented from the impact, and she could see stars. Seeing that Feng Wu was going to fall out of bed, Jun Linyuan steadied her. Feng Wu grabbed Jun Linyuan's hands and glared at him. Jun Linyuan, why did you have to do that? Jun Linyuan had zero idea what she was talking about. He stared at Feng Wu with unblinking eyes. Chapter 339, What did I do? Chapter 339, What did I do? Feng Wu glared at Jun Linyuan. Why did you do that to me? Do you know how much it cost me? And you just took it away like that. Jun Linyuan was anything but good-natured. Growing up, no one had ever dared snap at him. In other words, he had never been wronged. He didn't know what that felt like. The crown prince narrowed his eyes and stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu was even more exasperated by his silence. Speak. Why did you do it? Why me? Are you so proud of yourself for playing me like this? Are you happy now? Satisfied? Jun Linyuan had lived an indulgent life growing up. For as long as he could remember, even his own father, the emperor, had never made him do anything against his will. He kept his brooding gaze on Feng Wu and said in a husky, warning voice, Feng Wu, you're pushing it. Feng Wu broke into angry laughter. Me? Pushing it? After everything you've done to me, I'm pushing it? Jun Linyuan, you're unbelievable. Do you think everyone has to obey everything you say and you can do whatever you like to everyone else? What did I do? Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Wu, his voice intimidating. You know perfectly well what you did after I fainted. Throwing Jun Linyuan's hands off, Feng Wu stormed off. After a few steps, she took a deep breath, turned around, and looked into Jun Linyuan's eyes. I don't ever want to see you again. You disgust me. Thought. Feng Wu slammed the door behind her. She then marched off furiously. Outside, a group of men stood in the corridor, and they were all astonished. Especially Chong San, the captain of the Crown Prince's guards, who was dumbfounded. He thought that his brain had stopped working. His Royal Highness had just been shouted at. Someone had shouted at him, and that person had slammed the Crown Prince's door. What was more frightening was that the person was able to leave the prince's residence alive. How incredible! Meanwhile, Jun Linyuan was seething with anger, and a draft seemed to sweep through the manor. Everyone shivered. Jun Linyuan was furious. The door that Feng Wu had slammed shut exploded all of a sudden. Chongson felt as if his heart had been blasted into pieces as well. The Crown Prince seldom lost his temper, but when he did, it would make everyone shiver with fear. Mr. Feng, that's Chongson tugged Feng's sleeve. Is His Royal Highness going to be all right? Given how reserved and taciturn Jun Linyuan was, he would sulk rather than give vent to his anger. Even if he had to lash out, he would find some remote corner to do it, and it was indeed a habit worth worrying about. Rubbing his forehead, Feng went up to his master in resignation. Your Royal Highness. Jun Linyuan glared at Feng and exploded. What did I do? I saved her. Feng nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. If I hadn't taken her to the royal palace, and I let the fire poison take effect, she would be a retard now. Feng nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. And she blamed me for it? That woman doesn't make any sense. Feng nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. She said she doesn't ever want to see me again. Do I look like I want to see her? Feng nodded repeatedly. Yes, of course. Chongson was dumbfounded once more. No, this wasn't happening. Chapter 340, This Crown Prince. Chapter 340, This Crown Prince. The Crown Prince was supposed to watch the world fall apart without so much as turning a hair. What did His Majesty used to say about his son? The Emperor had concluded that the Crown Prince would frown even if the Emperor himself died in front of him. However, he was now acting like a grumpy kid. Yes, and he was complaining as well. That was something that had never happened before. Just when Chong San thought that hearing Jun Linyuan complaining was shocking enough. There was a loud thump. Chong San watched as his master kicked the table to pieces. OMG, was he seeing things? What happened to their Crown Prince? He didn't act so childish or willfully even when he was 3 years old. But now, he was venting on a table. Chongson couldn't help but follow Miss Wu with his eyes. Feng came out soon. Taking Feng's arm, Chongson asked in amazement, Mr. Feng, His Royal Highness, is acting so strangely today. Feng darted a glance at him. What are you getting at? Mr. Feng, here's what I think. Chongson offered his opinion. Since His Royal Highness is so mad at Miss Wu, how about I cut her head off to cheer him up? Instantly, Chong San's muscles stiffened, and he felt as if his blood had curdled. Feng's indifferent gaze suddenly turned very solemn and intense. Staring at Chong San, he stressed each word with a voice that wasn't loud, but was terrifying. You're welcome to try if you want to get yourself, your family, and your entire clan killed. Feng left after that, leaving Chong San behind, transfixed. He kept replaying Feng's words in his head. In other words, if he killed Miss Wu, he would die, together with his family and the whole clan. Feng Wu had no idea of what happened after she left. She was mad, really mad. After all her efforts, she had just been one step short of success. Jun Linyuan had robbed her of the abnormal flame she had painstakingly gathered, and had given her that attitude of, I'm doing it for your own good. It couldn't be any more frustrating. Feng Wu was so furious that she still looked pissed when she jumped over the wall into her own yard. Granny Zhao was startled by the look on Feng Wu's face. Miss, you heard as well. What? Feng Wu was bewildered. Where's Mum? Granny Zhao looked upset. She's been crying since she heard the news, and I was finally able to put her to sleep after she got exhausted. Feng Wu's heart sank. Something had happened. What's wrong? Did someone come this afternoon? Was it Lady Wang? Feng Wu drew out a chair and let Granny Zhao sit down. With a grim face, Granny Zhao told her about Feng Yinfeng's visit. Your uncle said that we need to get you prepared. He'll find a chance to get you close to the crown prince so that you can offer yourself to him as a concubine. Feng Wu shook with anger. How dare he? Miss Wu, where are you going? Granny Zhao feared that Feng Wu would get told off if she went to Feng Yinfeng to argue with him. Feng Wu took a deep breath. I'm going to take a walk. She wasn't going to shout at Feng Yinfeng, for she knew her sycophantic uncle too well. To him, his personal gain was more important than anything else. What she needed to figure out now was whether Feng Yinfeng had come up with this on his own or whether Jun Linyuan was behind it. Chapter 341, The Unaware Prey. Chapter 341, The Unaware Prey. Feng Wu smacked herself on the forehead as soon as she walked out. Xiaoqi. She had forgotten all about Xiaoqi. It had been 2 months since Jun Linyuan took him away, and she wondered how he was doing now. Angry and ashamed, Feng Wu turned in the direction of the crown prince's residence. She had just jumped onto a wall when she saw a carriage coming her way. She quickly made her way up a leafy Chinese parasol tree and took cover in the branches. It was well after dark, so no one would be able to make her out that way. The carriage stopped under the tree Feng Wu was hiding in, and 2 slim figures came out. Under the dim moonlight, Feng Wu recognized them. Feng Lu and Yin Yin. Since when were they so close? They were holding hands when they came out, and both were smiling. The friendly atmosphere between the two gave Feng Wu the creeps. Hearing their conversation, Feng Wu frowned. Feng Lu smiled brightly. So deal. Yin Yin reached out to her with a finger. Pinky swear. They exchanged looks and smiled wickedly at each other, as if they had reached some secret deal. Feng Lu said, I'll leave you here. You better go back before Feng Wu finds out you're here. She then gestured toward the yard. The first courtyard in that direction is Fallen Star Yard, where Feng Wu and her family now live. Yin Yan's smile widened. Fallen Star Yard? That's quite fitting. Was it made specifically for Feng Wu? Feng Lu grinned. A star falling to the dirt. That's very suitable and very satisfying. Yin Yin raised her chin. We've come up with this plan right outside her wall. Imagine how frustrated she'll be if she finds out about this later. Both girls laughed wholeheartedly when they imagined how helpless Feng Wu would be when she walked into the trap. I'm going in then. Yin Yin waved at Feng Lu. Feng Lu said, see you tomorrow. After Yin left in her carriage, Feng Lu grinned maliciously in Yin Yan's direction. After that, she darted a contemptuous look in the direction of Fallen Star Yard before jumping over the wall and disappearing into the night. Feng Wu didn't move even after Feng Lu was gone. She was replaying Feng Lu and Yin Yan's conversation in her head. Those two would never have expected Feng Wu to be right over their heads in a leafy tree when they chatted by the wall next to her courtyard. Feng Wu smiled. It seemed that tomorrow would be a very interesting day. She had to be ready for tomorrow, and it seemed that Xiaoqi would have to wait. Feng Wu darted a pitiful look in the direction of Jun Linyuan's residence. That man in the purple robe was a Yin. Little Phoenix couldn't see what was going on outside, but could hear them. Hence, it had also heard Feng Lu and Yin Yan's plan. Feng Wu said grumpily, so what? He has the thing you need. I'm telling you. Little Phoenix insisted. You have to reach the spiritual grandmaster stage. Right now, Switching One can finish you off with a flip of her hand. I've heard so many people speaking despicably about you. And as your mount, I'm so ashamed. Chapter 342, Malicious Intentions. Chapter 342, Malicious Intentions. Although you're not a spiritual grandmaster yet, I can tell you something in advance. Little Phoenix said in excitement. Get in here, quickly. Feng Wu had been intrigued this whole time about the method for waking up her master. Hence, She turned into her spiritual form and entered her ring the next moment. The first thing she saw was her beautiful master, who was still lying there with his eyes closed. Her beautiful master's layered robes hung over the edges of the ice bed like white clouds. His exquisite features were breathtaking. On his smooth, glowing forehead, a faint scar marked where the divine blood of the phoenix had been taken out. Little Phoenix said to Feng Wu, "Look at that scar on my master's forehead. Does it look like a star to you?" After taking a closer look, Feng Wu saw that the scar was indeed star-shaped. "Do you want to bring him back?" Little Phoenix asked. "Of course." Feng Wu clenched her fists. It was her ultimate fixation. "Good," Little Phoenix said. "All you have to do is gather all 5 broken pieces of the star and insert them in that scar. That way, my master can wake up." Feng Wu's eyes sparkled. "That's all. That's all." Little Phoenix rolled its eyes at Feng Wu. "Do you have any idea who the owners of those 5 pieces are? You make it sound so easy. It's harder than collecting real stars." Feng Wu was used to Little Phoenix's sarcasm already, and she only prompted, "Who?" Little Phoenix said proudly, "You don't need to know the others. You won't be able to get them now anyway. It'll only get you killed quicker." "I'm making progress, you know." Feng Wu protested. Little Phoenix snorted. "Become a spiritual grandmaster first, then we'll talk." Feng Wu was speechless. She wished that she could get to the spiritual grandmaster stage more than anything else, but she had hit a bottleneck, which was so frustrating. Little Phoenix knew that it was making an impossible request as well. Feng Wu was already doing a great job by rising to a level 9 spiritual master from scratch in an unprecedented few months. No one on the entire continent had ever been able to do this. Feng Wu went back to their previous topic. "Fine, don't tell me the rest, but what about the first piece? Are you suggesting that?" "Yes." Little Phoenix sounded thrilled. "That first piece of the star is on that man in a purple robe that Sir Yin, your uncle, was fawning over." Feng Wu nodded. "That's Yin Shi Fan, a minister on the Grand Council, as well as the Ministry of Official Personnel." "That's him." Little Phoenix grabbed Feng Wu's sleeve, the look in its eyes fervent. "You have to get that first piece, and you better be quick about it." "Quick." Little Phoenix nodded. The broken star pieces can thoroughly remold and change a person's body, improving their physical strength. How long do you think that Sir Yin will wait before he uses it on himself? Once he does that, your beautiful master will never wake up." Feng Wu clenched her fists. It was late, but instead of going back home, Feng Wu headed for the Yin Manor. No one but herself knew what she did there. The next day, Feng Wu heard familiar footsteps as soon as she woke up. It was Granny Gui. Granny Gui had been holding a grudge against Fallen Star Yard since the last time, but Chapter 343, Your Uncle Cares About You. Chapter 343, Your Uncle Cares About You. But she had to force a smile. "Is Miss Wood home? Lady Wong is asking for her." Granny Zhao asked what it was about, and Granny Gui said, "Sir Yan's mother is celebrating her 80th birthday today, and the ladies of all the major families are going to attend the banquet. Since Miss Wu is back, she can't hide in Fallen Star Yard forever. Can she?" Granny Zhao snapped. "You..." Granny Gui smiled. "I always speak my mind, and I admit that I'm not the smoothest talker. But I'm telling the truth. Miss Wu can't hide behind closed doors forever, can she? She has to get married and have babies someday." Granny Zhao glowered. "It's none of your business." Granny Gui shook her head and smiled wryly. "She's not your Miss Wu alone, but a daughter of the Feng clan as well. If Miss Wu was a cultivator like all her sisters, we wouldn't be rushing her into marriage. But she's crippled, so getting married is her only option now." Granny Zhao was so angry that she wanted to slap Granny Gui. Even Xiaoling rushed out of the kitchen with a cleaver in her hand. Feng Wu had finished washing up by then, and she walked out wearing a long dress with buttons down the front and a light red robe. Standing there gracefully, she reminded one of spring's sunshine and morning dew. Although Feng Wu didn't utter a word, Granny Gui couldn't help but shudder at Feng Wu's presence. How could this be? Granny Gui was shaken. Miss Wu was useless now, But how could she still be this intimidating? Especially those eyes, which made Granny Gue feel as if her heart had been pierced through with a sword. "Let's go," Feng Wu said unhurriedly, looking as stunning as ever. Miss Wu, Xiuling and Granny Zhao each took one of Feng Wu's arms, and both shook their heads repeatedly. After everything Feng Wu had put her through, Lady Wang was never going to help Feng Wu get a good husband. Of course, she was going to get the worst candidate possible. However, Feng Wu only smiled and left them some instructions. "Shut the door after I leave and look after my mother." Granny Zhao and Xiuling saw the light suddenly, and they realized why Feng Wu was so calm. After that, they turned in unison and gave Granny Gue inscrutable glances, which baffled the latter. Feng Wu followed Granny Gue to Flying Snow Building, and the latter managed to exchange some pleasantries with Feng Wu along the way, although her smile looked rather stiff. Feng Wu was on guard. She spotted Feng Lu as soon as she set foot inside Flying Snow Building. Feng Lu had dressed up for the occasion. She was bright-eyed and looked as pretty as a picture. Her lilac dress went all the way down to her ankles, the layers of which reminded one of floating clouds, and she wore a pair of embroidered shoes rimmed with golden thread. Feng Wu was secretly amazed. After what had happened, Feng Lu could act as if she was completely unaffected. "Tough girl." Feng Lu returned Feng Wu's stare with a dirty look. She snorted and went back to her mother. Despite Lady Wang's hatred for Feng Wu, she was able to squeeze out a kind smile like a gracious aunt should. "Xiao Wu, there you are. Come, I prepared an outfit for you." Feng Wu took a glance at the pale green dress and shook her head. "That won't be necessary." Lady Wang smiled as she took Feng Wu's arm. "Xiao Wu, your uncle left me with instructions that we should show you around more. He also asked me to make some new clothes for you. Your uncle really cares about you." Chapter 344. Pardon? What was that? Chapter 344. Pardon? What was that? Her uncle cared about her. Feng Wu felt like cracking up. To irritate Lady Wang, Feng Wu played along and nodded. "I know, uncle is great to me. He's going to make me the crown princess." Feng Wu knew that those words would make Lady Wang try her best to stop her uncle from doing that. She knew it. Lady Wang's face stiffened right away and the smile disappeared. However, it only took her a second to pull herself together. As always, Feng Lu was the one unable to control herself. "Feng Wu, you're shameless. Offering yourself to the crown prince? Who the hell do you think you are? His Royal Highness will never agree. You're bold as brass." "Feng Lu," Lady Wang scolded her and gave her a warning look. Only then did Feng Lu realize what she had done. How could she have forgotten about her important plan? After today, Feng Wu would be, well, that was if Feng Wu would live to see another day. Feng Lu snickered, darted a contemptuous look at Feng Wu, and turned away. Feng Wu went on with her excellent acting. Looking at Lady Wang, she smiled bitterly. "If Xiao Lu really doesn't like it, I won't go to the Yin Manor then." Lady Wang and Feng Lu exchanged looks and said in unison, "You have to go." Feng Wu hesitated. "But I have a headache." Lady Wang went up to her in a hurry and helped her sit down. "Granny Gue, give Xiao Wu a head massage. And my hands hurt." Feng Wu made another request. "I'll rub them for you." Lady Wang was burning with hatred, but she forced herself to smile. "And my feet hurt too?" Feng Wu said in a pitiful voice. "Feng Wu, you're pushing it." Feng Wu didn't put any effort into making her acting convincing, which only agitated the others further. Everyone knew that Feng Wu was pretending, but if she really decided not to go, there was nothing they could do about it. Feng Wu was the key to their plot today, and without her, they would come away empty-handed. "Feng Lu, apologize to your sister." Lady Wang gave Feng Lu a warning look. Feng Lu was furious. However, at the thought of their plan, she had no choice but to clench her fists and say, "Sister Wu, I'm sorry." "What was that? I didn't catch that." Feng Wu looked bewildered. "Miss Wu, I'm sorry." Feng Lu glared at Feng Wu. "Pardon?" The wind was blowing so hard. "I didn't hear you." Forget it. Stay at home. Feng Lu stormed off. Feng Wu frowned at Lady Wang. My feet hurt so bad. Aunt, I don't think I can go today. Sorry for wasting your time. Shaking with anger, Feng Lu turned around and stomped back. She knelt down in front of Feng Wu and took the latter's leg. Where does it hurt? Here or here? Feng Lu pressed so hard that anyone would jump up in pain. Ouch! Feng Wu reacted exactly that way. Her leg flexed, and she kicked Feng Lu in the face. There was a loud thud, which almost sent Feng Lu flying backward. However, Feng Wu was the one who looked hurt. Feng Lu, did you have to press that hard? Do you hate me that much? Feng Wu had aimed her foot exactly at the tip of Feng Lu's delicate nose. It was one of the softest parts of the body, and Feng Wu spared no effort. Feng Lu broke into tears right away. Xiao Lu, Lady Wang forgot all about Feng Wu and ran to her daughter. Chapter 345. Feng Wu is her natural enemy. Chapter 345. Feng Wu is her natural enemy. Lady Wang ran up to Feng Lu in a hurry. Xiao Lu, are you all right? Talk to me. Tears rolled down Feng Lu's cheeks as blood gushed out of her nose. Her eyes glinted like a hungry wolf's, and she looked like she was ready to tear Feng Wu's throat open. Feng Wu, you be. However, blood rushed into her mouth as soon as Feng Lu opened it, and the taste almost made her puke. Feng Wu looked as innocent as a bunny. Oh God, what happened? Xiao Lu, I didn't mean to, but you squeezed my foot too hard and I flinched before I knew it. Xiao Lu, are you all right? Let me have a look. There's so much blood. Luckily, I'm a doctor. Here, let me help you. After those words, Feng Wu grabbed a handful of ashes from a censer nearby, made her way to Feng Lu's side, and smacked the handful right onto Feng Lu's pretty face. Feng Lu had just opened her mouth to speak, and the ashes fell right in. Wretch! Poor Feng Lu. Her face was streaked with tears, blood was gushing out of her nose, and she was repulsed by the ashes. It couldn't be any worse. Lady Wang realized what was going on right away, and she glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu, what are you doing? Feng Wu looked very innocent. I was helping Xiao Lu. She was bleeding so bad. See? Her nosebleed has stopped. Lady Wang then saw that Feng Wu was telling the truth. However, Feng Lu's makeup had all been ruined, and she looked a mess. What infuriated Lady Wang even more was that Feng Lu's dress had been specially designed for today's event, and it was the key to their plan. My lady, we're running late. Seeing that Lady Wang was going to waste her time arguing with Feng Wu, Granny Gay hurriedly gave her mistress a reminder. Lady Wang closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She wished more than anything that she could rip Feng Wu's face off. However, she had no choice but to force a smile at the latter. Xiao Wu, thank you. Feng Wu said matter-of-factly. You're welcome. We're all trying to help Xiao Lu here. Lady Wang almost choked on her own spit. This Feng Wu was her natural enemy. To calm herself down, Lady Wang turned to Feng Lu with a scowl. Come inside with me and clean yourself up. One couldn't help but wonder what instructions Lady Wang would give Feng Lu as she cleaned her daughter up. However, Feng Wu couldn't care less. She only looked around casually, savoring the view of Lady Wang's room. Servants came in to clean up the mess, while Granny Gui kept her eyes on Feng Wu, fearing that the latter would try some new trick. Feng Wu smiled a little. Lady Wang and Feng Lu were in this scheme against her together, and she was only getting her revenge in advance, while making their plan more difficult. Before long, Feng Lu came out in a pink outfit. It was a lovely dress, but the redness on the tip of her nose made her look like she had been crying, which might not seem that auspicious for a birthday party. Lady Wang frowned. Xiao Lu, how about you stay at home? No, of course Feng Lu wouldn't agree to that. She was the one who had come up with the plan, and she had made sure that everything was set up just the way she liked it. She couldn't give up now because of this petty incident. She had to see Feng Wu's downfall with her own eyes. My lady, it's about time, Granny Gui reminded her. Lady Wang had her own mission to accomplish at tonight's banquet. Feng Yanfeng was longing for this transfer to the Ministry of Official Personnel, and after some painstaking effort, he had finally been able to make Sir Yan's acquaintance. Hence, for the old lady's birthday dinner party. Chapter 346, Visiting the Yin Manor. Chapter 346, Visiting the Yin Manor. Feng Yanfeng had enjoined Lady Wang repeatedly, telling her to fawn over the Yin family as best as she could. Lady Wang smiled. She wouldn't fail her husband. They headed for the Yin Manor in a carriage. Lady Wang and Feng Lu sat on one side, and Feng Wu sat on the other. Feng Wu was the fifth daughter in the clan, which meant that she had 4 elder sisters. Bored by the uneventful ride, Feng Wu asked Feng Lu, who sat rigidly upright opposite her, "Where's my third sister? I haven't seen her since I got back." Her eldest and second sisters were Lady Wang's daughters, both of whom had gotten married. Her third sister, on the other hand, was still single. "Feng Wu, you should consider yourself lucky that my third sister is absent." Feng Lu smirked. "Don't worry. You'll see how capable she is when she gets back from Imperial College." Feng Wu replied with a half-smile. "Why aren't you in Imperial College yet?" That successfully silenced Feng Lu. The cultivation education system in the Junwu Empire consisted of junior, intermediate, and advanced schools. One would only be admitted to the junior school after they became a level 3 spiritual master and would graduate when they reached level 6. The intermediate school was open to those who had reached level 5, and the students graduated at level 9. Only those who had reached the spiritual grandmaster stage could apply to the advanced school. Feng Lu was a level 6 spiritual master at the moment, which meant that she had just reached the standard for the intermediate school and was way below the entry level for Imperial College, the advanced school. Feng Lu glared at Feng Wu. "At least I'm in the intermediate school." "Feng Wu, you're useless, and you can't even get into the junior one." "No, you're too useless to even get into a nursery school. You're only humiliating yourself by bringing it up." Feng Wu darted a look at Lady Wang. As expected, the lady kept her eyes closed, as if she was sleeping, but in fact, she was giving Feng Lu tacit consent for her words. Feng Wu smiled. "I'll be in Imperial College soon." "Ha!" Feng Lu laughed, as if she had heard the funniest joke. She laughed until she was in tears. "You? Get into Imperial College? You're not even a level 1 spiritual master. Are you going to ignore all college regulations?" Feng Wu shrugged. "You'll see." Feng Lu kept her unblinking gaze on Feng Wu, as if she was going to bore into Feng Wu's flesh with her eyes. Despite her arrogant laughter, she had never forgotten how brilliant Feng Wu had been. Could she really get into Imperial College? The carriage stopped as they spoke. Granny Gui's voice came from outside. "My lady, we're at the Yin Manor." As one of the most influential officials at court, Sir Yan's banquet had attracted a great number of guests. Needless to say, Lady Wang wasn't important enough for Mrs. Yin to greet in person. A maid welcomed Lady Wang at the gate before showing them the way to the banquet. The venue was quite spacious. The male guests were entertained on the left and the ladies on the right. The two areas were only separated by a hedge. There had been influential officials from the Feng clan before, and it had been one of the 9 major clans. However, its status had continued to fall after it was no longer among the 9. It had never been this inconsequential. As a result, Lady Wang was seated at quite a remote table. Seeing her seat and the ladies around her, Lady Wang frowned. She was too far away from the center to even talk to Mrs. Yin. Feng Wu looked up and saw Mrs. Yin sitting at the host table in the center. Among the ladies sitting with her, there was a face that Feng Wu recognized. Chapter 347, The Possible Marriage Between the Royal and Zhou Families. Chapter 347, The Possible Marriage Between the Royal and Zhou Families. "Mrs. Yin is back? That was quicker than I thought." Feng Wu remembered that Mrs. Yin had taken Mrs. Ning back to Yuan City to seek justice for the latter. Feng Wu's murmur attracted the attention of the others. There were 6 seats around the round table Feng Wu was at. Lady Wang, Feng Lu, and Feng Wu took 3 seats, and 3 other ladies sat on the other 3. They were a mother with her 2 teenage daughters. Mrs. Feng, is this one of your girls? She's so lovely. Is she engaged yet? The longer Mrs. Ma looked at Feng Wu, the more beautiful she found Feng Wu. It would be wonderful to have such a daughter-in-law. Hence, Mrs. Ma asked. Before Lady Wang could reply, Feng Lu said with a smile, Mrs. Ma, this is my 5th sister, Feng Wu. She made sure that she enunciated Feng Wu's name. Mrs. Ma found the name familiar, but failed to put her finger on it. Feng Wu, Feng Wu. Feng Lu was about to remind her when the older Miss Ma took her mother's hand and whispered something in her ear. Mrs. Ma looked embarrassed right away. Lady Wang only appeared to hear the question then and gave Mrs. Ma a benign smile. This is Xiao Wu, the daughter of the 2nd branch of our clan. She's not engaged yet. Mrs. Ma's younger daughter, said arrogantly, Mrs. Feng, you've left something out. Miss Wu isn't not engaged. Her engagement was annulled. All the ladies here were ready for some gossip. Hearing the noise, all eyes began to turn in their direction. Mrs. Ma gave her younger daughter an embarrassed smile. Well, I'm just asking. Lady Wang seemed to not detect her embarrassment at all, and she prompted, Mrs. Ma, I recall that you have an 18-year-old son. The younger Miss Ma glared at Lady Wang. Mrs. Feng, our family isn't interested in a woman with an annulled engagement, and my brother will never marry someone like that. Please stop asking. Lady Wang darted a sorry look at Feng Wu and heaved a sigh. Feng Wu watched as Lady Wang gave her award-winning performance, and she could detect more and more eyes on her. And she could hear people talking about her in subdued voices. So that's Feng Wu. Back then, she was the genius second to the crown prince only. I heard she got greedy with her cultivation and ruined herself. And the royal family canceled the engagement. That was quite a snobbish thing to do. No, it wasn't. The crown prince is like a deity. Would you be able to stand it if he married a cripple? Of course not. Wait, wasn't there another girl as talented as Feng Wu back then? Zhuo Qingyun of his Zhuo family? She's Zhuo Qingwan now, the real owner of the true phoenix blood. I heard that Zhuo Qingwan has reached the peak of the spiritual grandmaster stage. You need to update your database. She's not a spiritual grandmaster anymore, but a spiritual elder. Holy crap, that's so scary. She's only 15, isn't she? That's right. And only a genius like her is good enough for the crown prince. Word on the street is that the royal family is considering a marriage proposal to the Zhuo family. Chapter 348, The Proud Crown Prince. Chapter 348, The Proud Crown Prince. So, Zhuo Qingwan is going to be the crown prince's wife and our future empress. Feng Wu listened as the others went on murmuring. Feng Lu looked at Feng Wu, gloating at the latter's predicament. She would like to see how much longer Feng Wu could keep her composure under all those stares. However, to Feng Lu's surprise, Feng Wu looked as undisturbed as ever, as if those people weren't talking about her at all. Ladies at another table heard the talk as well. You flatter me. My Xiao Wan isn't like that at all. She's only just become a spiritual elder. Zhuo Qingwan's mother, Lady Tao, who was from the Tao clan of Ruyang, waved her hand in a modest manner. A spiritual elder? That's amazing. We can't even imagine ever reaching that level. The other ingratiating voices chimed in. Another person asked, so, is the royal engagement proposal really happening? Lady Tao shook her head. No, it's nothing like that. Granny Qi, the Empress Dowager's maid, paid us a visit. That was all. Granny Qi? That's the Empress Dowager's most trusted servant. One word from her is more convincing than a lengthy speech from anyone else. Granny Qi would never visit the Zhuo Manor for no reason. I'm sure it was on the Empress Dowager's command. The Zhuo family is really going to have a true phoenix. The flattery went on and on. Lady Tao kept waving her hands in denial, but she couldn't keep the gloating smile off her face. The Crown Prince's residence. Jun Linyuan had two residences, one in the royal palace and the one outside. He usually stayed in the one outside. Xian Yi paid him a visit today. Feng Sun didn't come with Xian Yi, which was quite rare, so Jun Linyuan asked about it in passing. Xian Yi said, Sir Yan's mother is celebrating her 80th birthday today, and Feng Sun is a relative, so his mother ordered him to attend. I don't think he'll come hunting with us today. Xian Yi realized that Jun Linyuan wasn't listening. The crown prince, who had always been focused, was playing with a shiny golden bead in his hand, and his mind had wandered off. This wasn't right at all. Xian Yi frowned. Where did that bead come from? He reached out as he spoke. Usually, Jun Linyuan would hand it to him in passing, regardless of how valuable the object was. However, Jun Linyuan closed his fingers around the bead, looked up, and raised his eyebrows. Where's Feng Sun? Xian Yi's mouth fell open. He's visiting the Yin family. Sir Yin is holding a birthday banquet. Do you want to go? Xian Yi asked. Jun Linyuan gave Xian Yi an "Are you an idiot?" look. Since when would he bother going to a birthday banquet? By the way, I ran into the Feng clan's carriage on my way here. Lady Wang was taking Feng Lu to the banquet, and when the breeze lifted the curtain, I saw Feng Wu inside, too, Xian Yi said attentively. He kept his unblinking gaze on Jun Linyuan as he spoke, not wanting to miss anything. Jun Linyuan frowned a little and tightened his grip on the golden bead. Birthday banquet at the Yin Manor? Jun Linyuan darted a glance at Feng. Feng took the hint right away and nodded. Sir Yin sent an invitation, but everyone knows that such an event is too petty for your Royal Highness to attend, and the invitation was just out of politeness. Jun Linyuan didn't say anything. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.